Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Figured I would do a little catch up on this stream and see how far I can get through it. I'll be running it at a 2 times speed. Looks like it should take me a total of about 4 hours. If you don't care about trial streams, all you got to do is hit like, subscribe, and turn it on the background and kick back and don't even have to listen. I'm just trying to get a little bit of viewing hours in there. I've got some content that I'm going to do later on this evening, possibly this afternoon. Depends on how much I can get through with this, and it's going to be a recipe stream. I'm going to read off some of my favorite recipes that I just enjoy cooking, making. Like today I started up my best Mississippi pot roast, and it's real simple recipe, and I'll read that one off at some point in time today. But that's what's on the menu for dinner, with a little bit of mashed potatoes be be sitting on top of that. I could easily just do some rice, but I think I want to do some mashed potatoes with that this evening. I think that's gonna be very tasty for this whole thing. So today is just a chill stream. I'm not really concerned with the getting through all of it, but if I'm able to get through all of it, well, there you go. I'll be through quite a bit of it by the time that Monday rolls around and can start afresh. So we'll see how this goes. I'm hoping um, that the prosecution is going to rest at the end of the day, but I don't know how it's going to go. We'll see. Hopefully it comes out looking good, but hey, it's just another day in the dollar. So let's uh let's make it a really good one. And here we go. Hey Rabbit, how you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. Probably skip through a couple of these here. They're just reading off juries. Same people.
We're going to go on a record on Mark D. Jensen, 2002 CF 314. The appearances are the same. It is Friday, January 13th, 2023. We are in day 5 of this jury trial. The jury is in the courtroom. We are still in the state's case in chief. With that, what do you wish to do this morning, Ms. McNeil?
The state would first like to move Exhibit 10 from yesterday into
All right,
evidence.
that was the exhibit that was used yesterday with the doctor that will be received. It was subject to cross. It is part of the record. And then what is the state's next witness?
The state calls Edward Klug.
All right, let's have him come in.
Come on, Eddie, get in there. There comes Ed.
If you could just remain standing, raise your right hand, I'll swear you in, okay? You solemnly swear the testimony in this matter to be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes. All right, the witness has been sworn in. Try to get as close as you can to that smaller microphone. If you want to turn it toward yourself a little bit. There you go.
Oh, so it's the skinnier one.
All right, can you spell your first and last name before we start?
Sure. Edward Klug, EDWARD, KLUG.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. McNeil.
And Mr. Klug, you can feel free to adjust the microphone so it's right in front of your face. Okay. Mr. Klug, I'd like you to think back to October of 1998. During that time period, where did you work?
I was at Stifel Nicholas, an investment firm.
And what was your job there?
I was a broker in charge and financial advisor.
So a stockbroker?
Yes.
And when had you joined the firm Stifel Nicholas?
September 30th, 1998.
So you had just joined at the very, very end of September 1998?
Yes. So my first day of employment was that day you have to resign from your firm and then they transfer your license to the new firm.
Where did you work before Stifel Nicholas?
Robert W. Baird and Company.
Is that the same type of work?
Yes. Just a different broker dealer.
Okay, and so what would you do as a stockbroker?
Well, I would work with individuals to help them get a better return on their investments, work with succession planning for estate purposes, just help people invest their money.
How long had you worked at Baird?
I started at Robert Baird in 1990.
And where were you living when you worked at Baird?
Let's see, 1990. I was in New London, Wisconsin.
At some point, did you move to the Appleton area?
Yes, I moved to Appleton in, I believe, this spring of 1990.
And is that where you worked at Baird in the Appleton area?
Yes.
And then when you moved and started working at Stifel Nicholas, was that still in the Appleton area?
Yes, it was.
And at that time, the very end of September of 1998, was Stifel Nicholas opening a new office in Appleton?
Yes, I was part of the new office. I was transferring my accounts from Robert Baird to Stifel Nicholas.
So in terms of your home life, you were not moving, you were just moving jobs?
That's correct.
So then what would your role be, what was it, in this new branch of Stifel Nicolaus?
Sure. Well, myself and I had a co-manager, Ron Ruck. We were hired by Stifel to open a new office, a new market for the firm, to hire brokers, to hire support staff, and make it a profitable office.
And so were you essentially a manager in that office?
So I was an acting manager, but I did not have my Series 8, which is the supervisory FINRA license to be able to supervise both accounts and people.
And so when you say Series 8, you were talking about some kind of license?
Yes. The license I had at the time was a Series 7, which was a general securities license. Then to be a registered principal or a supervisor, you have to get a Series 8.
Did you end up getting your Series 8 license?
So I took a 1-week cram course in Boston the 3rd week of January 1999, and then I passed my test the first week of February 1999.
And so then did you have your Series 8 license?
Yes. So then I had the exam, and then once you pass the exam, you are then appointed branch manager.
Okay, so there's a period of time at the beginning of your employment with Stifel Nicolaus where you were not the official branch manager.
Correct. I was named like a supervisory. Well, I would say like a manager in kind, basically. But all of my documents or everything, I couldn't sign anything. I was just there to supervise the facility.
So during that period of time, who was the manager for the Appleton branch of Stifel Nicolaus?
It was Mark Jensen.
And can you describe for us the process through which a new branch is opened?
Sure. Basically, you decide about 30 days before you're leaving your existing firm. So you're finding an office location, renting an office, ordering furniture, getting everything ready so that the office is ready to open when you transfer your license from your previous firm to your new firm. But technically, you can't talk to your customers and tell them that you're moving. So it's pretty much a process that is behind the scenes. So you're working with the new firm in what they call the ACATS department. It's the customer account transfer department. And then they will bring a team of people from the home office, usually on a Friday afternoon. You resign at noon at your other firm so that you have the whole weekend to get the office set up and transfer and contact your larger clients over the weekend. Because the former firm is going to go after your customers because you have to get a signature from every one of your customers to decide if they want to transfer their business with you. So you're throwing your book up into your book of business up into the air and hoping that those clients will land at your new firm. What the transition team does is basically ensures you stay in business. They're sending out all of the forms that are necessary to transfer all the different types of accounts from a single account to an IRA account to a corporate account to an business.
We know.
So then when you resign from the old firm on a Friday afternoon, you want to be up and running at your new firm by Monday morning?
That's correct. Yep, because you have you'll have spent the whole weekend calling all of your customers and saying, hey, you're going to get paperwork in the mail. Everything's going to be status quo. I want to continue the relationship with you because I'm the person you're working with. You're not working with.
So whether they go with you to the new firm or not?
That's correct.
Weekend when you move from Baird to Stifel.
That's correct.
And so where is the home base for Stifel Nicolaus?
Stifel Nicolaus is based downtown St. Louis. From the home office. Day was there. Dawn Cooper branches come also.
Now, did you have a contact person at Stifel Nicolaus that sort of made you cause you to move from Baird to Stifel?
Yes, it was Mark Jensen. He had come to the firm a few months before I had, so he went through the similar process. And my boss in St. Louis, Scott McCaig, basically said, "Well, here's somebody that went through the process. He'll help you. He'll make it, easy to move over."
And this person, Scott McCaig, that you've described, who is he?
Scott McCaig was the sales manager of all of the brokers in the firm, and I considered him my boss.
And was there any connection between Scott McCaig and Kelly Labonte?
Yes, Scott McCaig, his secretary was Kelly Labonte. So Kelly would go to all of the offices that Scott would open.
And so then in early October, the very beginning of October of 1998, you were in Appleton opening the office. And Kelly Labonte was also there?
Yes, she was.
And was Mark Jensen?
Yes, he was.
And now, while this is happening, I imagine, is it a pretty hectic weekend?
Yeah, it's pretty chaotic because you're working out of boxes. You're trying to get all of your customer paperwork ready. You're filling out HR paperwork, I-9s. Anything that it takes to become a new employee at a new firm, health insurance, all of those things.
And over that weekend, what did you observe Kelly Labonte and Mark Jensen doing?
Well, they were pretty secretive. They were behind closed doors most of the time. I would have expected them to help, but it was one of those things where they weren't there, and I was pretty disappointed in the fact that Scott told me that they would be there to help.
So you're saying that Mark Jensen and Kelly Labonte were in some office?
They were in one of the offices behind closed doors most of the time.
And that would not be typical of people helping you?
No, because had questions, and it was awkward in the fact that you open the door, do you talk? I mean, so it was not a good situation.
So what did you think when you observed those interactions between Mark Jensen and Kelly Labonte?
It was one of the things where you get the feeling that something wasn't quite right.
So what do you mean by that?
Well, you can get a vibe when somebody is interested in somebody else. It was say you could see there was some chemistry there.
Oh,
and my coworker, who was Ron, we were going to be co-managing the office. He was pretty upset too, the fact that they were brought in to help us when they could be stuffing envelopes or signing, filling out documents for us.
He's a little jealous.
And at that time period, Mark's role was not just to help you open the office; it was also to become the acting manager before you got your Series 8.
Yeah, he would be the acting manager from his Racine office. So pretty much, I would send documents down to him to sign. Anything would have to be approved by him. So he was the supervisor with the Series 8 license.
And so, to be clear, before you met Mark Jensen that weekend, had you talked to him on the phone?
We had talked on the phone because I wanted to find out how the process would go, and it's a nervous time because you're unsure of the new firm, you're unsure of the people. So he assured me that it would be a good transition.
Now, is that weekend the first time you met him in person?
Yes.
And can you tell us, in the courtroom today, do you see Mark Jensen?
Yeah, he's over there in the defendant's box.
Can you just describe something that he's wearing?
He is wearing a black suit and like a diamond check tie.
All right, the record should reflect the witness identified Mark Jensen in open court.
Okay.
So after this branch opened, after that hectic weekend, did you have any opportunity to talk to Mark Jensen on the phone after that?
I'm sure we talk daily, but I don't recall any conversations.
So you know you would have talked on the phone with him?
Yeah, because I would have had questions about operations,
And so then when is the next time you would have seen the defendant in person?
well, he was there the whole weekend, so we were there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then the next time I would have saw Mark was at the Blueprint National Conference, and that was like November 5th, 6th, 7th, somewhere. It was like a Wednesday through Saturday.
Much later.
All right. So can you describe for us what this conference is?
Sure. So it's a mandatory meeting that happens once a year so that the firms can update the brokers and the managers with any compliance changes, any regulatory changes. They usually have some of the wholesalers, which are the people that represent the mutual fund companies or some of the products that we sell or sold at the time. They would tout the features and benefits. You might get some continuing education requirements for insurance license or
Don't bore me with the
it's a
weeds.
pretty festive.
So was this hosted by Stifel Nicholas, the company?
Yes, it was Stifel Nicholas's Blueprint, and that would have been the first time that I would have met a lot of the people at the firm.
And so this is the Stifel Nicholas conference for Stifel Nicholas stockbrokers?
Yes, correct. Yep.
And some other Stifel Nicholas employees, maybe not stockbrokers, would also come as well?
Yeah, so they would also have home office people would come because you want to get to know who your margin clerk is, who your back office people are. It's a they encourage those people to come.
So where was this held?
It was held at a hotel in St. Louis. I'm not sure of the name of the hotel, but it was a large convention center because there probably would have been 1,000 people there.
And so St. Louis, Missouri?
Yeah, St. Louis, Missouri.
And you said it was November 5th through November 7th?
I believe so. It was the first week of November, right after I had started with the firm.
And that's 1998 then?
Yes, correct.
Lots of drinking and back office deals going on.
So you're pretty new at the firm when you traveled to this conference?
Yes, just about 30 days.
And so you really would have only known the people who were from Appleton?
Correct. Yeah, it was myself and Ron, and I think it was just us two that came over to start.
And then you would have known the people who helped open up your branch.
Yes. Yep. So like I said, I can't recall everybody's name. And then Scott McKay would have been there, the CEO of the company, Ron Kraszewski. Yeah. I mean, it would have been. I would have tried to meet new people. And
so to begin with, a limited number of people.
That's correct. Yep.
At the conference. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And so can you just describe for us, like during the day, what are people doing at this conference?
So during the day, well, you'll meet for breakfast, and then you'll have meetings from like 8 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock. So you have like breakout sessions with some different speakers. There probably was a general meeting where everybody was in a ballroom to hear a speaker, but then you'd have the breakout sessions.
And it's on Saturday that everybody would leave?
Yes, Saturday was the flying day back home.
Now, can you tell us what people would do once the sessions were over, when it was dinner time or after dinner?
Sure. After dinner, everybody would congregate at the bar or in the hotel lobby. Have a few drinks, talk about what went on, meet new people.
Maybe just a few
networking.
more.
So I'd like you to think back to the Friday of the conference. So I'm asking you to think back to November 6th of 1998. Was there a dinner that evening?
Yes, there would have been a dinner.
And so who were you eating dinner with that evening?
I know I was having dinner with Mark and Ron. I don't remember who else was at the table.
And so was this a dinner for everyone at the conference?
Yes. Yeah, it was like a farewell dinner.
So it would have to be somewhere in the hotel?
Yes.
So a big room at that hotel hosted it?
Yes.
Say goodbye.
And so before dinner, did you have anything to drink that Friday?
I don't recall.
But that wouldn't be unusual, right?
No, it wouldn't be. And there's times where I would have like Coke and put a lime in it, make it look like a drink, because you don't want to be out of place.
Oh,
so like a happy hour drink.
Correct.
And then at dinner, do you recall drinking anything?
I believe I had some wine. I think the wine with the steak.
And then once the dinner was over, well, actually, let me ask this: was the dinner pretty long?
Yeah, because there was speakers, and I would say it probably lasted at least till 10 o'clock.
So dinner ends quite late.
Yes.
After dinner, what did you do?
Ended up there was a hotel bar that I went and had some conversation.
Okay, so after dinner, you go to the hotel bar.
Just
now,
conversation.
right after dinner, was there quite a few people at the bar?
Yeah, I mean, like any meeting, you're gonna have people that'll filter out and then filter out of it.
And this is also the Friday evening going into Saturday from you?
Yes, the Friday night was the last night that I was there.
And then would there be some sessions on Saturday morning?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so you don't.
I don't remember.
Okay, you just don't recall that.
Yep.
But
thinking about that, there probably was because I do remember. Yes, yeah, we did have a meeting that morning.
And then at some point on Saturday, everyone who's out of town is scheduled to leave.
Correct. And normally you take your luggage right to the meeting and you put it in the back of the room.
And so you were scheduled to leave that Saturday?
That's correct.
Oh.
All right. So
Bye-bye,
thinking back to
Barney.
that Friday night at the bar, was there a time period when other people who had been with you began leaving?
Sure. Like I said, people filter out and start to leave.
And was that as the night got later?
Yes.
All right. So I want you to think back to at the time of around bar close. Who was still around after bar close time?
No, I was, and then Mark was. Kelly was there. There was a broker from Ohio. I can't remember his name. Ron was there, and there was a fair amount of people, that were still there. But the bar was closed, so drinking coffee, just continuing.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm just, it's a festive type attitude.
So then once the bar was closed, where was this group of people?
It was in the hotel lobby.
And then do you happen to remember that evening whether Dawn Cooper was there as well?
Yeah, Dawn was there.
Was she drinking as well?
Well, at the bar, people were drinking.
Okay, yourself included?
Yes.
And Mark Jensen?
Yes.
All right, so did there come a point that evening where it got late enough where only you and Mark were there?
Yes.
And can you tell us, did you have discussions with Mark at that point?
Yeah. It was, after everybody was gone, we were kind of talking and.
So first, can you tell me what topic you were discussing with Mark?
Sure. Well, he was talking about the strangest things. I mean, I couldn't believe that somebody would talk about killing their wife. It was like, it was kind of out of the blue.
Oh, wow.
Had you been talking with him on the topic of wives?
When I was kind of had just had some problems in my marriage, and he was talking about some problems in his, and so it was kind of like, we were talking about spouses.
Okay, so you were on the subject.
That's
of
correct.
spouses?
Yep.
And you had some not great things to say about your marriage.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes.
And was it the same for Mark Jensen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, before I ask you about the actual conversation, I just want to clarify: was your wife
what
at the time
kind of
Joanne
bad
Clue?
things he
That's correct.
had to say about
And you were
his
married to her at
wife?
the time?
Yes.
Had there been a point recently before 1998 where you had some issues involving your wife?
Yes, I had filed for divorce in I think 95 or 96, and had moved out for a month.
But that divorce did not go through?
Yeah, we reconciled. We went on a cruise, and we got remarried and recommitted, and tried to patch things up.
Now, to be clear, did you get divorced? So you had to be
No,
married?
I had asked her if we would not do that, so we reconciled.
Okay, so reconciled, not remarried.
Right. Well, right, but then we went on a cruise and did get remarried. So.
Oh, like renewing vows?
Renewing vows. Yes, that's what I should say.
Now, during that time period where things were rough with your wife, did you have some kind of interest in a woman you were working with?
He felt so
Yeah, I had a
bad,
friend,
can't
and she was my
live
assistant.
without you.
And it was one of those things where it was not a sexual relationship. It was a friendship in the fact that, somebody that understood your hectic day and somebody to talk to.
Was that woman named Stacey Bauer?
That's correct.
And did she work with you?
Yes.
And what was her role or her job?
She was like an office assistant.
So you were interested in her, is that correct?
Yeah, she was a widow and had 2 young children, and I helped her, because there wasn't food in her fridge and stuff like that. It was just, I felt sorry for the kids.
And that interest caused problems in your marriage, correct?
Yes.
I imagine so.
And fair to say, even at the time of this conference in 1998, there were still some troubles in your marriage?
I wouldn't say troubles.
Hey,
I would
Vicky
say that
G, how you doing?
more or less trying to rekindle what you had and trying to get that your spouse to respect that. The trust issues.
Now, thinking back to this conversation that you had with Mark Jensen, can you tell us, to the best of your recollection, what Mark Jensen said to you?
Mark was talking about how to get rid of the problem, basically. The websites that you could go to search how to kill your wife. And it was just like the craziest thing that I ever heard, that, an educated person would say something like that. And then he was talking about poisons and Benadryl and, things that could be undetectable.
So what was the problem that Mark Jensen had in his life when he was saying these things to you?
Well, the problem was he didn't want to pay maintenance. He, wanted to have everything and have his new friend, Kelly, move in with him.
Oh.
And so the problem was his wife?
That's correct.
Now, at this point, you had described that Mark Jensen had been drinking.
Yes.
Did you have any opinion on whether he was intoxicated or not?
I know he had been drinking. It was just, I couldn't believe somebody was talking like that. I mean, it was, I'd never heard anybody talk like that. It was really weird.
So you would say that he was drinking, but do you know if he was intoxicated or not based on your observations?
To say if somebody was intoxicated, I don't know. I mean, I don't think he was stumbling all over.
Intoxicated.
He was, definitely animated in the fact that he was
How
telling
could
how
you
to kill his
tell?
wife.
He's intoxicated himself.
Okay, and so what do you remember him mentioning in terms
Two
of
drunk
the
men
kinds of
talking
things he was
about
Sure.
often their wives.
He was looking up poison, and he was telling me that you could get items that would be non-detectable in a normal autopsy. He was looking at ways that he would put somebody to sleep, and put something in. He said you could put it in drinks, have them drink it.
And did he mention any other substances?
Well, he was talking about Benadryl and like what I look at. He said like ethylene glycol, and I didn't know what ethylene glycol was. And then it's antifreeze. So I kept looking at Benadryl and saying, well,
it's
what's
not.
in Benadryl?
It's
and I
in
looked at the base
antifreeze.
chemical. It's polyethylene glycol, which is not toxic to you. So I couldn't understand how Benadryl would kill you.
But you recall him mentioning then ethylene glycol?
Yes, I remember ethylene glycol.
And then you learned that that's antifreeze?
Yes.
Okay, and you've described this as a crazy conversation?
Yes.
And so at some point, after this conversation has occurred, at some point, do you leave the conversation?
Yeah, because it was getting late, and I always like to check in with my wife, so because she would be up, she's worried about me, and so I went back to the room and called her.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So did you actually speak to your wife on the phone?
Yes, I did.
And even though it's really late at night?
Yes, yeah, because I would always check in with her, and then I had tell her what kind of crazy conversation I was having.
All right, I'm going to show you what has been marked as State's Exhibit number
100 times better. I agree, because some of it can get rather boring. And I'll skip over stuff that's not relevant.
Looking at that, can you tell us what that is?
That would be a phone bill from AT&T Ameritech. My phone bill.
And if you could just make sure the microphone's.
I'm sorry. It's my phone bill for my home phone, Ameritech AT&T.
And does that show the calls that you referred to, or the call between you and your wife that early morning?
Yes. It was November 7th, and it was 2:34 was the first call, 2 minutes, then 3:38, 4 minutes, 1 minute.
Vicky, it's only just the juicy stuff.
Another 4 minutes at 4:02, 4:06, another 5 minutes.
Okay, and so Mr. Klug, I'm going to ask you to look at something on the screen in a second.
Whoa.
And for the record, this is State's Exhibit 11. And so this is, as soon as we get it on the screen, this is the item on State's Exhibit 11 labeled phone records. Are the TVs on?
Are they on, Jay? They're on.
All right. So I'm going to just try to see if I can zoom in a little bit on this. All right, you can see it better actually on this view.
Okay.
Okay, so
Does this really matter?
Mr. Klug,
No.
easier for yours
No,
phone call
fact
as
that
the
he
received
called
calls.
his
That's
wife.
correct.
And then what is the next phone call between yourself and your wife?
The next call is
Okay,
Okay.
don't care.
And then the next phone call you see?
4:02,
care.
4 minutes.
Don't care.
Later on the 7th, did you have a phone call with your wife, like during the regular daytime?
Yep, that was when I was at the airport. It was a 7-minute call.
Don't care.
Is that accurate?
That's correct. I'm sorry.
You had with
Doesn't
your
matter.
wife, Joanne Klug. During that conversation, what did you tell your wife?
There we go.
I told her that I was in the bar and that I was with Mark and that he was talking stupid and I'm probably going to go back down and listen.
Okay, were you more specific about what?
Yeah, he told me he was going
Of
to kill his wife. And
course.
my wife at the time,
I
Joanne,
will
did not want me to go back
use
down there.
food
So it was
words
a
as
short conversation.
verbs.
So
in
when you first,
very
in that phone call with your wife, when you
creepy
brought up Mark
ways.
Jensen, did she know him at all?
She had met him once in the Appleton office.
All right, so she had met him at least once, and you're telling her
Something
about
like
what he had just
being
told you?
Yes.
in a
And did you
pickle.
specifically say anything about him looking up things to kill his wife?
Yes, it was a pretty basic call telling her what was going on. And it was like, it was kind of like, I didn't want to take the time I wanted to get back down there and listen to what he was saying.
Okay, so actually your goal was to get off this phone call
That's correct.
because you wanted to continue talking to Mark Jensen?
Yes. And
And why did you want to do that?
well, because I had never heard anybody talk that stupid in my life about how to want to kill a wife.
He just
So it was a
called him
fascinating conversation to you?
stupid.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was interesting.
And what was your wife's thoughts about that?
She told me not to go down there. That would be stupid to go back down there.
In terms of what your wife expressed, was she not happy with that conversation?
No, not at all.
She
Did you
just
listen to your
called
wife?
him
No, being a
stupid.
man, I don't listen to
And what did you do?
I went back down there.
That's awesome.
All right, and so when you went back down there, was Mark Jensen still there?
Yes.
And did you continue the conversation?
Yes, we did. And he went into more detail.
Oh, really?
Now, was the topic of that second conversation, that renewed conversation with Mark Jensen, was it the same?
It was the same continued conversation about Mark wanting to get rid of his wife
And the research on the internet?
and the research on the internet and all the effects of what the chemicals could do to your body to crystallize you from the inside out and not be detectable. He kept talking about that.
Now, had you ever met Julie Jensen?
I never met Julie.
Yes, Vicky.
Now, when you had this conversation, this second conversation with Mark Jensen, I take it was somewhat later in the morning. And about what time do you think the second conversation was occurring?
Okay, so I would have gone back down after the conversation. So this says 2:34 a.m. and then the next call was 3:38. So it was
Good
between
Lord.
that time that I went back to the lobby to talk to Mark.
And then at some point, did you return to your hotel room for the night?
Yes, at 4:01.
So you believe that you weren't actually done speaking to Mark in your hotel room for the night until about 4 in the morning?
That's correct. And then I had a conversation again with Joanne.
That's a little crazy.
It was actually 3 calls, so it was about 10 minutes worth of talking to her,
4
All right,
o'clock
and what was the
in
nature of that
morning.
conversation with your wife?
explaining to her what he had talked about because she was really like I said, she wasn't happy the previous time, so basically he started. She wanted to know what the conversation was, and I was explaining to her, because I was so surprised that somebody would talk like that, poison your wife, kill your wife, all things that I had never been exposed to.
So then after getting to your room at about 4 a.m., did you have to be somewhere the next morning?
Yeah, then the conference would start again at 7 a.m. for breakfast.
And then after the morning sessions of the conference, what did you do?
So then I went to the airport and then called Joanne again, let her know that I was coming home, and then we had a conversation again because she was wanting to. She thought about everything I had said the night before, and she was a very spiritual person, so she was just wanting to make sure I was safe.
And so during this
Uh-huh.
airport conversation, you and Joanne, you once again discussed what Mark Jensen had said.
Yes,
And do you recall what was said during that conversation?
pretty much repeating what I had said the night before,
Yes.
talking about Mark wanting to kill his wife and the different websites and the chemicals, what it would do to your body, the crystallizing from the inside out,
I
the
don't.
shortness of breath, the fact that it's a very slow process and it wouldn't be detectable.
And so did your wife's attitude remain the same?
Yes,
Objection
she.
calls for hearsay.
Sustained.
Yes, that should be sustained. That should be objected to. It would be hearsay.
Now, after you had this conversation with Mark Jensen, you talked about talking to your wife about it. Is there anyone else during that time period that you believe you mentioned it to?
Oh yeah. Ron Ruck, who was my co-manager, came to pick me up at the hotel and at my room to go down to the meeting, and he asked what I did the night before, and I told Ron Ruck that I was up with Mark Jensen, and being that he managed Ron, also told him that that he was talking about how to kill wives, and he took it as I wanted to kill my wife, and I said no, Mark wanted to kill his wife.
So you described that to Ron Ruck?
Yes.
And then once you returned to the office, did you say anything to anyone?
Yeah. So then the Monday morning after the conference, I told basically Stacy, and I told everybody in the office what had happened because it was such a weird conversation.
So this just seems really odd to me that all of these people, this guy's spreading around saying he's very concerned that Mark Jensen's going to try to kill his wife, yet nobody turns him in. Just seems strange to me.
Okay, so you specifically remember telling Stacy Bauer?
Yes.
And is there anyone else who you specifically remember that you told or mentioned this to?
Stacy Bauer was the widow that he was sort of taking care of on the side that caused issues between him
Now, I
and
want
his
to
wife.
direct your attention to about a month or less than a month after this conversation had occurred between you and Mark Jensen. At that time, did you hear that Mark Jensen's wife had died?
Actually, from Mark himself, he called the office and told me that his wife had died.
And do you remember about the time frame that you got that call from Mark Jensen?
It was first thing that Monday morning after Thanksgiving. So it would be,
Yes.
what's that, probably December 5th, 6th, somewhere in that range.
And was it your impression that Mark Jensen's wife had just died
Yes.
based on the conversation?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Klug, what did you think about hearing that in that phone call?
Because of the fact that the conversation we had, and he was my supervisor, and I didn't bring up any of the conversation that we had. He didn't bring up any of the conversation other than he was telling me how she was so depressed, and that she was sleeping a lot. And as I was a caring person, so I wanted to know how the kids were doing and how he was doing, because he just lost his wife.
Did you confront him about what he had told you?
I didn't confront it, but in the back of my mind, I knew what had happened, and then
You
I
did.
didn't say anything. And then after the call, I went out and told Stacy, and I said Mark's wife died, and she said, "Oh my God, he killed her."
Objection, move to strike. That was hearsay.
That's
I
Exactly.
believe that is an excited utterance, if I may lay some foundation.
You
for
could
that.
start over, but the way he said it, obviously, it was an answer to your question. So if you want to lay a foundation, you can.
So, Mr. Klug,
Yes.
I want you to think back to that moment after you had that phone call with Mark Jensen. You then go to your intention is to tell other people in the office. Is
Yes,
that correct?
because of the
Yeah, I
shock.
would be freaked out.
And when you did so, what did you have to do? Did you have to leave your office? Where did you go?
Yeah, I left my office and then went to the front reception area.
And was this person Stacy Bauer? Was she there?
Yes, she was.
And what did you say out loud?
I told her that Mark's wife had died.
And did you see her reaction to that?
Yes, and she's an expressive person. She said, "Oh my God, he killed her."
Objection, hearsay, move to strike.
Exactly.
So, without saying words, Mr. Klug, can you describe to us what you saw in terms of Ms. Bauer's expression?
Sure, she was excitable in the fact that she knew what had happened because I had had the conversation with her.
Objection.
Okay, and so then what did you observe about her body or her facial expressions?
Just shock, or kind of like, "Oh my God," that type of thing.
And so immediately after you said what you said, and then you made those observations about Ms. Bauer, what did she say?
Objection calls for hearsay. I don't think that there's a basis for an excited utterance at this point. Essentially what we have is...
Hang on. We're just arguing way too much legal
Sorry.
jargon.
Sorry.
Take a break, folks.
Yeah, he's going to kick the jury out for a second. We'll skip forward. They can't allow some of this stuff in. Yes, I would
All
be
right,
horrified too.
Jury is outside the courtroom. You can
Objection.
continue, Ms. Renner.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Grounds.
What we have here is the state is saying that this is an excited utterance. Yeah, we don't have any actual description of excitement. We only have the word "she was excitable," which is obvious since the state has already said this is an excited utterance. And he said shock, kind of like, "Oh my God," that kind of thing. I believe was his exact testimony. That none of that actually describes someone as being excited. It simply is a cumulative assessment.
There
Want
you
to
go.
respond, Ms. McNeil?
Well, Judge, I think this is actually classic excited utterance. It's when somebody hears something that is, stunning to them, and then their reaction to it, what they blurt out of their mouth. And the reason that this is a hearsay exception is because the idea is when someone hears something stunning, their immediate reaction to that is reliable. And so that's why those statements are allowed into evidence, because it is so immediate and because it's after a shocking event or experience or hearing something shocking. And Mr. Klug did describe Ms. Bauer as shocked. The words, there's, no magic words for excited utterance. You just have to describe that heightened emotional state, which Mr. Klug has done.
Well, I agree. There's no magic formula here. It is spontaneous, and it sounds like the witness or the person that made the statement was in shock based upon the description of Mr. Klug. And I think it's a classic excited utterance. I agree. So we're going to bring the jury back in the.
Your Honor, before we do that, there's
Well.
a possible objection coming up as well that we might want to deal with, so we don't have to bring them back and forth. My guess is that Mr. Klug, based on his statements thus far, is going to be going into why he believes that Ms. Bauer said this, and I believe that would be speculation and inappropriate.
I can't predict what the state's going to ask. I wish I could. So if we get in an area and I think it's speculation, make your objection.
Thank you.
Okay? All right, bring the jury back out.
There we go. Bring them back out. Play ping pong with the jury. Come on. There. Jury's taking too long. Come on. This guy is just on top of it.
All right.
Come on. Look at that. I've already gone through an hour of 8 hours. I'm moving right along.
Was back on the record
2
on Mark
minutes in.
Jensen's case. The jury is back in the courtroom. Thank you for your patience, ladies and gentlemen. The objection was overruled and the question will be allowed. So go ahead, Ms. McNeil.
So, Mr. Klug, I was asking you, after you made that statement about Mr. Jensen's wife being dead, what did Ms. Bauer say?
She said, "Oh my God, he killed her."
Now, in terms of your conversation with Mark Jensen, did you ever confront him about it?
I didn't.
Why not?
And then there was a time period when you learned that Mark Jensen had been charged with killing his wife.
That's correct.
And when was that approximately?
I thought it was like 06 or 07. I'm not sure.
Was it possible it was as old as 2002?
Oh, yeah, it could have been.
And then did something else happen?
So I just want you to look. Now, does it not look like if you look at that officer in the back there, does it not look like his name is K Bitch? I know it says Stitch, but it almost looks like just quick glance at it.
In around 2006, 2007 related to this?
Like the evidentiary hearing?
Right, like someone reaching out to you about the case?
Well, I had made one phone call to the Pleasant Creek.
Hey, and there's nothing wrong with having a chrome dome. I will say that if I lost all my hair, that I would shave it off and I would buff that thing to the shiniest polish that I possibly could. Just for shits and giggles.
Department, but the only thing they had asked me about was Mark using your computer? And I said he was, but the firm had replaced all of the computers in an upgrade. So it's kind of like I just didn't say anything after that to them.
So I just want to break this down by time period.
Yes,
There's a time period when you learn that Mark Jensen's wife is dead, correct?
that's correct.
And then after that, you did not tell police or prosecutors or anyone in authority about what Mark Jensen had said, correct?
No, I didn't.
And after that time period, did you tell your wife that Mark Jensen's wife had died?
Yes.
And tell us about that conversation.
Objection calls for hearsay.
Yes.
Well, initially he's just telling us that the conversation occurred, so I don't think this question calls.
Oh, you're getting close. I mean, he can talk about
Yeah.
what he said to his wife. I don't have a problem with that.
Basically, I told her what had happened with the phone call from Mark. Told me that, that his wife had died, and then I let her know that Mark was being charged with killing his wife, that he was arrested, and he wasn't the manager anymore of Racine office.
So during this time period, after hearing about the death of Mark Jensen's wife, and then after hearing that he had been charged with that, did your wife, Joanne, give you any advice about coming forward?
Objection
Hearsay.
again calls for hearsay.
This is not hearsay. This is a fact on the listener. It does not matter if it's true or not. It's what she told him.
I'll let you ask the one question, but we're not going to get any more into what his wife said. Okay, you can ask this one question. Go ahead.
All right. So did your wife advise you either way about whether you should come forward?
She said she would support me in whatever decision that I made.
And at that time, you made the decision not to tell anyone in authority about what you.
Yes, I did not want to get involved.
Now, it is true that some people that you
Find
worked
that
with
highly
did know what
unlikely.
Mark Jensen had told you because you had told them.
Yes, that was Quinn Yorton. He was the manager of the Green Bay office, and I knew he had some police background, so I was asking him questions.
And so were you seeking his advice?
Yes.
And after that conversation with Mr. Yorton, did you make a call either to the Pleasant Prairie Police Department or to prosecutors?
I called, I believe I called the courthouse or somebody then they wanted to question me after that.
Now, when you did that, did you talk about this conversation you've just described at the hotel at the conference?
Yes.
You're saying that you told in 2000, you're saying that in that call that you talked about the specific conversation where Mark Jensen said he had killed his wife?
Yes.
Objection. I think we need a time frame here.
You want to put a date in or a year? Or,
So it might help if I show Mr. Klug. I have another exhibit. This is State's Exhibit 13.
all right, show him 13.
Give them some love. And so you made this statement in 2013.
Yes,
So let me just ask you about that particular exhibit. Do you recognize what State's Exhibit 13 is?
yes, that's my handwriting on a document describing what I had remembered from the conversation.
Some notes that you had taken?
Yes.
And what prompted you to write down those notes that you see in State's Exhibit 13?
Quinn had told me to keep like a log, to try to jog your memory. So it was on 3/21/02. I called the DA office and left a voicemail in Kenosha.
All right. But to be clear, when you made that phone call, you did not describe this conversation. As
No, that's correct. Yep.
And then you said something about computers. Is that what you talked about?
Yeah, then that probably was the next conversation about they wanted to know if Mark was using any computers. And I said he would have used the computers in my office, but that we had replaced those computers in a firm-wide upgrade.
So, Mr. Klug, can you tell us why you didn't tell the police or prosecutors or someone in authority about this conversation?
I was scared of Mark. I was scared of the fact that if he killed his wife, what could happen to me?
Now, I want you to think back to the time period of July of 2007. Do you remember during that time period someone from the district attorney's office reaching out to you?
Yes.
And was it only at that point that you told the district attorney's office about this conversation with Mark Jensen?
I believe so, yes.
And then shortly thereafter, shortly after that contact, did you end up testifying at a hearing about that?
Yes, because they wanted to get my
Yes.
statements of my recollection of what had happened.
And then sometime a few months later, did you testify again? Do you recall? So do you recall 2 prior testimonies?
Yes.
And then at some point before the second testimony, is that when you discovered those notes you're looking at in State's Exhibit 13?
Yes, because I went through all my compliance files and found notes.
And so you turned those
Okay.
notes over?
Yes.
And so again, what was the
Let's hear
time period
this.
of those notes in State's Exhibit 13?
The date was 3/21/02 and then 4/10/02. And then there's no other dates beyond that. Oh, I'm sorry.
This is
Um,
02.
These are notes saying when the conference was and when the weekend was that Kelly was at my office and Mark was at the office.
But that's really it. I think he's just a little mad because Kelly was getting something that
Did you want me to
he
read the
wasn't
notes?
giving her.
Not at this moment.
No.
Now, during the course of taking these notes, was that to remind yourself about this conversation that you had with Mark Jensen?
Yes,
And at that point, that was acting on the advice of Quinn Yorton?
that's correct.
All right. And so in these notes, do you note things like Mark Jensen wanting to get rid of his wife?
Yes, he's saying how unhappy his marriage was and that where are we at here? He wanted to get rid of her.
And I see that you wrote down the word psycho.
So
Was that
this
in
is
reference
after
to
he's
Mark Jensen?
been
Yes.
charged.
Was it in reference to him or
Oh,
him referring to his wife?
What page is that on?
So that would be the 4th page, the top of the 4th page.
He wanted to get rid of her. Psycho. I'm thinking it was about his wife that he was telling me that she was psycho because it was he wanted to get rid of her was the comment before on the previous page.
And then did you also note that it seemed like he was trying to be your friend or wanted to be your friend?
Yeah.
And then finally, did you note something about Benadryl and an OD?
Yes. Okay. So next Monday, unless your thought was odd, talked every few weeks. Would call every so often, try to say Benadryl overdose. Get out of bed. She was depressed. And then I just put he was my boss from 10/1/98 to 3/15 of 99.
So note here that it's just Benadryl overdose, nothing about poison. Poison, you would think that would be something that he would have mentioned to a note to himself that he was looking to poison. But hey, what can I say?
And then you know the 10-1, by that date, you know that Kelly came to the office?
Yes. Yep. And I put 10/1 weekend 01. Kelly came to set up the office. I can't read my writing. 2 people conversation uneasy about. It's basic notes about what I wanted to
Continue listening.
remember.
I must step away for a second.
Now, is
but
it fair
I
to say
will
that
be
as you look at these
right
notes, this is
back.
not like how someone would write out a statement, correct?
No, it would be random thoughts that would have been talked about as during the conversation.
So like if someone else is looking at this, they might not be able to interpret what you've written, correct?
Correct. Or read it because my writing isn't good.
Like for instance, if you look at the first page of these notes, do you see something written there, sick feeling in stomach?
Yes. A sick feeling in stomach. Quinn Yorton recommended. So
Now, do you know what you were talking about when you wrote that?
I think it was talking about my feelings because it was like bringing up, it was hard to talk about it.
So anticipating maybe calling the police or talking to the police about this?
Yes.
All right. And so again, you turned these over once you found these?
Yes.
And you believe you found them at some point before your second testimony?
Yes.
Now, Mr. Klug, do you remember someone working at Stiefel Nicholas by the name of Dave Nearing?
Yes. Dave Nearing was a fellow investment broker. He worked in Mark's office.
And did you ever have contact with Dave Nearing?
I've talked to Dave. Yes.
And do you remember ever talking to him about what Mark had told you?
Yeah. He was Mark's best friend. And he was telling me,
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
So just tell us about what you said in this conversation with Dave Nearing that we're talking about.
sure. Mark always would sit in his office with the door closed and the blinds closed. Dave spent a lot of time at Mark and Julie's house.
Objection, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Klug, what I'm trying to ask you is whether there
Can I
was
just sustain the objection first? It's okay. Thank you.
sustained. All right. So, Mr. Klug, what I'm trying to ask you is, with Dave Naring, was there a point in time where you would have told him or mentioned to him this conversation that Mark had with you about killing his wife?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember the context of that?
The context was, they were coworkers in the office and friends, and I wanted to tell them what was going on.
So you knew that Dave Naring, even though he didn't work in your office, you knew he knew Mark Jensen.
Right, because it was another office close by.
Now, Mr. Klug, to be clear, when prosecutors reached out to you in the summer of 2007 to talk to you about this conversation, you knew at that time that Mark Jensen had been criminally charged with killing his wife, didn't you?
Yes,
So you knew it was a serious conversation, correct?
that's correct.
And you knew it was important to be as accurate as possible,
That's
correct?
correct.
And then it was just within a couple days of that you testified the first time, correct?
Yes.
Now, I want to ask you about things that have happened more recently. Did you and your wife, Joanne Klug, did you divorce?
Yes, she filed for divorce in September of 2011, and it was final February of 14.
And your wife, Joanne, does she now live out of state somewhere?
Yes, she does.
And in terms of your life, have you remarried?
I remarried in 2015.
Now, was there a time period, I want you to think back approximately a year ago, last December, was there a time period where someone acting as an investigator for Mark Jensen came to talk to you?
Yes, it was my grandson's birthday, and I had arrived at their house, and there was somebody there. I don't remember his name, but he wanted to have a conversation about the Jensen trial. And I said, well, it's my grandson's birthday. I can talk for a few minutes. And then because I thought I was compelled to talk, I didn't have to talk to him. I was just being cooperative.
Okay, so you did talk to that person?
Yes.
And was that for a fairly long amount of time?
Yeah, it ended up being probably an hour and a half.
And so then, to be clear, you've talked in detail about what has occurred. You testified twice.
Yes.
There's also this investigator person you talked to. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Just about your observations during that conversation, do you have any idea whether that conversation was being recorded?
Objection, relevance.
I want to sustain that.
Now, Mr. Klug, do you have any expectation of getting money as a result of testifying in this case?
No,
And you've been a known witness in this case from 2007, is that correct?
that's correct.
And has it caused you to get a bunch of money?
I have not received one penny. It's cost me money to be a witness.
Okay, I have no further questions, and I would just move the exhibits that were testified to. So that's
Can you,
11.
just say those numbers for the record.
Yes. So that would be 11, 12, and 13.
All right, subject to the cross to the 11, 12, and 13 will come in. Who's doing the cross? Go ahead, Ms. Renner.
So, Mr. Klug, you testified you first spoke with Mark Jensen over the telephone, correct?
What are you talking about?
When you very first met Mark Jensen, your first conversation with him was over the telephone.
Yes.
And this was the conversation about transitioning from your former brokerage to Stifel Nicholas?
Yep, that's correct.
And this was a business conversation.
Yes.
It's
See
not a
how
social or a
crazy
personal
this
conversation?
gets?
No, because I didn't know
Excuse
Mark.
me while I chew.
And you then met Mark in person on October 1st?
Yes,
And that's when he was in Appleton to help with the transition?
that's correct.
And your conversations that day were also business related?
That's correct.
They weren't personal?
That's correct.
Now, Mr. Jensen had become your supervisor upon the transition, is that correct?
That's correct.
And that's because you did not have the right kind of license to supervise the office.
To supervise the trades, he was managing the trades. I was managing the day-to-day operations of the office.
Now, Mr. Jensen, though, was only your supervisor for about 5 months.
Yes,
In fact, he worked out of the Racine office.
correct.
You were in the Appleton office. That weekend in October was the only time that you had Mr. Jensen in your office, is that correct?
Yes,
As your supervisor?
yes,
And that's when you got your Series 8 license in March of 1999, correct?
that's correct.
And after that, Mr. Jensen was no longer supervising you in any way.
That's correct.
So prior to the Blueprint conference, you had what, maybe 20, 25 minutes worth of conversation with Mr. Jensen?
He was there the whole weekend.
He was there,
Yes,
but you said he was hanging out in office?
yes, with the door closed.
And so he was
Absolutely.
talking, but he was talking to you during that whole
really
weekend?
Sweet.
There would have been some conversation, probably if I had a question on a form or, procedures.
And so those conversations would have all been business related, correct?
Correct.
And they weren't personal or social in nature?
No,
So then you go to the Blueprint conference, correct?
correct.
And let's turn then to that Friday night. Now, after a day of listening to different speakers, there was a cocktail hour.
Correct.
And during that cocktail hour, you drank.
Yes,
And what did you drink?
Probably, I don't remember. It was some form of alcohol. Could have been beer with mixed drink, depending on what was there.
Well, you testified previously in this matter, correct?
Yes.
And the testimony on July 30th of 2007, and for counsel, that's page 20, lines 4 for 12.
Thank you.
So on July 30th, you were asked the question, would you have a cocktail prior to dinner? Answer, yeah, that there would have been a social hour before dinner.
Correct.
Question, and what's your usual drink? Answer, a couple of drinks. Question, and so what's your usual drink? Answer, I'll drink a Bud Light. Question, so you think you had at least 2 Bud Lights and a couple glasses of wine? Answer, correct. Was that your testimony?
You're reading it. I don't see it in front of me.
Do you recall testifying to that?
Yes.
And so those couple glasses of wine were during dinner, right?
Yes, correct.
Now, you also testified on January 8th of 2008 in this matter, correct?
Okay, yes.
Well, you testified twice.
Okay.
And counsel, this would be page 177, lines 1 through 4.
177 on the transcript, you're saying?
On the transcript,
And lines?
1 through 4. So on January 8th of 2008, you testified in this matter. And to be clear, for both of these times that you testified, you did have to raise your right hand and swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Is that right?
That's correct.
And you did testify
Yes, that's what you're reading.
after swearing to do so, right?
Yes.
And on January 8th of 2008, the question was, and on Friday night, you had a happy hour? Answer, there was a happy hour, yes. And question, you had 2 Crown and Cokes? Answer, yes. Was that your testimony on January 8th of 2008?
Yes.
So today, you don't remember what you drank that night,
It was 20 years ago.
but it could have been beers and it could have been Crown and Cokes.
Possibly.
And as we already established, you had a glass or 2 of wine at dinner.
With food, yes.
And then after dinner, you went to the lobby bar.
Correct.
And you were drinking in the lobby bar,
Correct.
having about 1 or 2, probably about 2 an hour, would you say?
I don't know.
So again, you testified on July 30th of 2007. Counsel, this will be page 20, lines 16 to 25
That's the page on the transcript?
for July 30th, 2007.
Right, let me just.
That's not doing him very well.
But
Okay,
my
thank you.
apologies. So on July 30th of 2007, you testified, well, I should say you were asked, and what did you have to drink? The court asked in the lounge. Question, in the lobby. Thank you, Judge. Your answer was, at that time, I would have had a few more beers with the group. Question, and how many? Answer, 2 or 3.
So what do you think?
Question,
They had a
how many were you
toxic
drinking every hour?
relationship?
Answer, probably 2 an hour.
Could be.
Is that your testimony at that time?
Yes.
And that night you were drinking a mixture of Crown Royal and Coke and beers?
Yes.
So in total, you had probably 11, 12 drinks that night?
Possibly.
And during the time in the bar, you were socializing, right?
Yes.
You were talking to different people.
Correct.
And you said that things started to clear out towards the end.
Yes.
But at bar close, Don Cooper was there.
Yes.
Ron Ruck was there.
Yes.
Kelly Labonte,
Yes.
Mark Jensen,
Yes.
and a number of other people that you maybe can't remember.
That's correct. I know it was a broker from Ohio, but I can't remember his name.
What time did the bar close?
Probably 2 or 2:30.
So 2 or 2:30, the bar closes. And at 2:34, you are on the phone with your wife.
Yeah, let her know. Yes.
So he's
And-
trashed.
How long would it take you to get from the bar area to your room?
A few minutes.
So when the bar
No,
closed
she's
around 2 or
saying that
2:30,
maybe he was
you went to the lobby.
too drunk.
Yes.
And you were in the lobby with Mark Jensen and Don
making
Cooper.
things up.
Yes.
Don Cooper was talking about her divorce that was going on.
I believe so, yes.
So about 2:30, you go up to your room to call your wife.
Yes.
And that phone call was at 2:34,
Yes.
and it was a 2-minute phone call.
Yes.
Did she call you or did you call her?
I called her.
You called her?
Yep. No, wait, let's see. No, let's see. I called her, let her know, and then I believe then she called me because she must have fallen asleep. Oh.
You have Exhibit 12 up there with you, don't you?
Yes.
And prior to 2:34 a.m., the call before that was from November 5th. Is that right? At 11:12 a.m.
Yeah, that was a 21-minute call.
But it's your testimony today that you called her and she called you back?
No, I guess you're confusing me.
Now, it's your
Sounds
testimony
like he
today
gets confused
that during this
easily.
2:34 a.m. phone call, you told your wife that Mark was talking about killing his wife, correct?
Correct.
During this 2-minute phone call, right?
I would have checked in and just said, hey, there's a conversation, what's going on, and went back down.
Now, on July 30th, 2007, you testified about this phone call as well, right?
Yes.
Oh,
And counsel, this will be page 69, line 19.
it's going to be interesting because it probably doesn't match up.
Okay, thank you.
You were asked the question, and in this first conversation at 2:34, you did not talk about Mark Jensen, correct? And your answer was, I don't believe so.
Okay.
That was your testimony?
Yes, you're reading it.
If I didn't know his leg was shaking, I would think.
After this conversation
he
with
was
your
a little
wife, you go back
dizzy
down
on
to the
that
lobby.
desk.
Yes.
And you meet back up with Mark Jensen and Don Cooper?
Yes.
And at this point, you're having a discussion about your significant others.
Yes.
The three of you are talking about Dawn's divorce. Correct?
Yes.
And Ms. Cooper, Dawn Cooper, was upset. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
And you told Dawn and Mark that you had filed for divorce about a year prior in 1997.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And you filed for divorce in part because of this non-sexual relationship with Stacey Bauer?
It may have been one of the reasons.
Now, you were down in the lobby for less than an hour. Would that be fair to say?
Yes.
And we know that because you had this second call with your wife
That's correct.
at 3:38 a.m.
Yes.
And that was a 4-minute phone call.
Yes.
Then there's another call at 4:01 a.m.
Yes.
That was 1 minute. Another call at 4:02 a.m. That was 4 minutes.
Yes.
And another call at 4:06 a.m. That was 5 minutes long.
That's correct.
Seemed weird.
Did you hang up on your wife during that phone call?
Probably.
Probably.
Yes.
And then called her right back?
Yes.
So you two were arguing during that conversation?
Possibly, yeah, because of what I had told her.
Your argument was possibly also about you being out so late?
Possibly.
Good. God.
Your wife had expressed concern that you were in a bar that had women in it during that conversation?
Possibly.
Now, your testimony today was that Mark told you about websites.
That's correct.
Did he specifically give any website addresses?
Yeah, he talked about poison. He talked about howtokillyourwife.com.
So howtokillyourwife.com was
Yes.
something he brought up?
Yes.
Oh,
Now, the
you
next
might.
morning, you spoke with Ronald Ruck earlier in the day.
Yeah, he came to my room to pick me up to go to the conference.
And at that point, you told Mr. Ruck that you'd stayed up all night with Mark talking?
Yes.
And you had told him that you'd stayed up late talking about killing your wives. Right?
Yes.
So you were
Oh.
a part of that conversation as well.
What do you mean? I was talking to Mark.
And you were wife bashing.
Yes.
What specifically did you say about your wife?
I don't remember.
Well, I don't
Probably the
remember
fact
what
that
I
I
said
filed
about
divorce
my
and we
wife,
got
but
back
I
together
remember
and,
what he
you know,
said.
It's having conversation.
So it's your testimony today that you didn't say anything mean about your wife that night?
Oh, I'm sure I did.
Now, when you talked to Mr. Ruck that morning, you were laughing when you talked about this, weren't you?
It was not. It was probably more of a shock than a laugh.
But you were laughing.
Oh,
Possibly.
okay. All these folks are getting busy with each other.
Your Honor, if you'd like, this might be a good spot to take a break and I can continue my cross after the break. I know it's 10:30 and
Oh, thank
at
God.
least some at this table would like a couple minutes.
All right, sounds like we need a break from the defense side. So folks, going back, please.
Yep, yep,
Uh,
yep, yep. On. Get through some of this here. Where are we at? All right. And back to questioning him. Absolutely. Absolutely, Vicky T. I'll
Right, we're
watch
back
it
on the
later
record on Mark Jensen. The
whenever I'm not
appearances are the same. The
streaming.
jury's back in the
because
courtroom. We're continuing with the
Sounds like it'd
cross-examination.
be really interesting
Mr.
stuff.
Kluger's still under oath. You can start anytime you want, Ms. Runner.
She's pretty cool.
I'd like to
She
talk about
reminds
other
me of
people now that you've
like a
told
little
about this
sister.
conversation with Mr. Jensen. You testified you told your secretaries about the conversation?
Yes,
And you specifically told him that Mark talked about killing his wife.
that's correct.
And it's your testimony today that you told them the Monday after the Blueprint conference?
Yes,
And again, you testified on July 30th of 2007, right?
yes.
And at that time, you swore to tell the truth.
I'm objecting. This is ask and answer. Just go to the line.
Where are we going again? What subject are we at?
We are talking now about his conversations with other people regarding the conversation with Mr. Jensen.
So
Go ahead.
just to clarify, so if the question is about something previously said in testimony, just go there. Instead of all these preliminary questions, you testified before, you swore to tell the truth. I'm
Are you
objecting.
trying to impeach him with prior testimony?
Yes.
And what was his answer?
Yes.
What did he say different?
On page 68, line 24, the 30th of July, 2007,
Oh.
the question was asked,
Hey, Crystal.
and is this the first time?
How are you?
Then do I understand that the first time you spoke with your secretaries was after the charges in this case as well? Answer, no. No, that's something we talked about after Mark's wife had died.
So what's the impeachment?
He just testified that he told his secretaries about this the Monday after the conference, which was prior to Julie Jensen's death.
Okay, let's move on to another subject.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to testifying today, did you review any documents?
Yes.
What did you review?
I read the transcript,
Oh,
The transcript from your testimony on July 30th of 2007?
whatever was provided.
Your testimony on July 30th of 2007 never mentioned ethylene glycol or antifreeze. Is that correct?
I don't recall.
Your testimony that day talked about poisoning with Benadryl, right?
Yes,
First time you testified about antifreeze was on January 8th of 2008, right?
yes,
Now,
Mhm.
in addition to telling your secretaries about this conversation, you testified you told Ron Ruck, correct?
Correct.
I'm sorry, what was that?
yes,
After testifying in these cases, you also would tell clients about your testimony in this case.
not that I recall.
You don't recall indicating that you were a star witness?
Is there a specific client?
Excellent.
You also had a viewing party for television coverage on this case.
Nice.
I had a client that owned a supper club, and yes, I had invited friends to watch the 2020 in 48 hours, I believe.
Oh, thank you, Crystal.
And that was a
Appreciate it.
viewing that you set up?
Yes,
You invited people to it.
possibly.
Now, I'd like to direct your attention to Exhibit 13. Is that up there with you still?
Yes,
And that's your notes about this case?
yes,
And today, you testified first that you wrote those in 2007. And then you testified you wrote them in 2002?
no, it would be 2002 because that's what the date is on the notes.
So you didn't write these immediately after your conversation with Mr. Jensen?
No,
You didn't write them in the year after 1999?
no,
You didn't write them in the year 2000?
no,
You didn't write notes in the year 2001?
no, it's 2002. You're right to that date.
So there was 4 years in between the conversation and your notes?
Yes,
And in your notes, you write, she was depressed. That was in reference to Julie Jensen, wasn't it?
yes,
Because Mark was talking about how his wife was depressed.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
You also, in these notes, talk about Mr. Jensen being unhappy in his marriage.
yes.
In these notes, nowhere does it say ethylene glycol, does it?
No, it doesn't, of course. I pointed that out earlier.
No,
And nowhere does it say antifreeze.
no,
The only drug mentioned in these notes is Benadryl.
that's correct.
Wow. Imagine that.
Now, you said you created these notes for a anticipated conversation with police or the district attorney's office.
Yes,
And you testified that you called the Pleasant Prairie Police Department.
That's correct.
In fact, you called the district attorney's office, didn't you?
I don't recall. I know.
And at that time, when you called the district attorney's office in 2002, that was after Mark had been charged.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And you had read the criminal complaint at that time?
I did not read the criminal complaint.
No?
Nope.
When you spoke with the district attorney's office in 2002, you did not bring up this conversation, correct?
I think I was telling them that the conversation that we had and that they wanted to talk to me about more information.
No, you in fact called them and said that you thought they should check the computer in Appleton.
Possibly.
Uh-huh.
You didn't tell the district attorney's office or law enforcement about this conversation until 2007 when they reached out to you, right?
Oh.
Possibly.
And as far as these notes go, you testified about the note in 2008 in January, correct?
Yes.
But you also testified on July 30th of 2007 and page 23, counsel, beginning at line 19.
Okay.
Question was asked. You don't have any notes about a trip to St. Louis in November 1998. Answer. I made a few notes about when Mark became my boss. And when I was in St. Louis, I had to, find the calendar and get the dates. Question. So you have notes showing that you went to St. Louis. Is that what you're telling me? Answer. Yes. Question. Do you have any notes about any conversation you had with Mr. Jensen during that time? Answer. No, I don't.
Oh.
Question. Any sort of recording, audio, video, anything like that? Answer. No, I don't. Question. Anything on a computer, any emails, anything else reflecting anything about these supposed conversations? Answer. No. That testimony was in 2007, right?
Okay.
5 years after you wrote this note? 5 years after you wrote these notes in 2002? Right?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And looking at these notes, it appears that there are places where you added more information after writing the initial piece.
Oh.
Is that true that you did that?
Those are my notes. I don't know if things were
Gosh.
added.
You don't know if things were added,
I don't know.
but they're all in your handwriting?
They're in my handwriting, yes.
But most of it is in cursive, but some of it is printed?
Possibly, yes.
Oh.
And most of the lines start along the left, but some of them start in the middle of the page?
Yep.
Those would be things you added later?
Or after I read it.
Oh.
And in those notes, you specifically state you can't remember everything
That's correct.
because you were drinking?
No. The length of time.
Mm.
And Mr. Klug, you're no longer a stockbroker, right?
That's correct.
You're not working in real estate?
I'm a realtor, yes.
And while you were a stockbroker, there are times that you would make trades without a
I'm
client's...
objecting, Judge. We addressed this in a pretrial motion.
Sustained, we did.
Oh.
So we're not going to go into it.
And I'm not going into those
You're
things.
going into it.
Oh, he did some stuff that was not quite legal.
From 2013 to 2015, you worked with a woman named Shelley Burnt.
I'm objecting to the relevance of this testimony. If some other witness is going to be called, then that's relevant. But in terms of what Mr. Klug has to say about that, that's not relevant.
What sort of relevance are we trying to establish?
This is prior acts of untruthful conduct.
Judge, this was the subject of a pretrial
On the
motion.
back, folks.
He's going to chase out the jury. This is going to address this pretty quick.
So, Judge, I believe that Ms. Burnt was mentioned in their pretrial motions, and this is part of what the court denied. Am I incorrect about that? I
I
remember.
thought I signed an order to that effect.
I don't believe there was anything about Shelley Burnt's testimony.
Yes, there was. Shelley Burnt was in the pretrial motion. I looked at it this morning. She's listed in the pretrial motion.
But we're going where we're not supposed to.
I understand the court's ruling.
Well, we had a hearing about this. We discussed it. I signed an order, and I'm always amazed when we get in a trial, people still try to get in evidence that's been denied.
Judge, Attorney Krause, my concern is that this is specifically about the untruthful conduct of a witness.
It should have been brought up prior to all this.
It's not specifically in other acts.
You're trying to get it in a back door.
We're not trying to get in a back door. This is information that the prosecution has. This is not a back door.
It's not
They have
coming,
this
it's
information.
not coming in. It should have been in a pretrial motion.
Under 90608, we have the right to cross-examine a witness under sub 2 and sub 1 about their characterful truthfulness, and that's what this is.
Well, we had this massive motion hearing, and we talked about all these issues.
The only thing that was talked about was FINRA and that one prior conviction.
We talked about more than that.
Not as it related to Mr. Klug.
I believe that we did. If we pull up the defense motion, it specifically references Shelley Burnt and what she would have to say about Mr. Klug. So I don't know why we're debating what's in writing.
I agree.
Where in the signed order does it say that we cannot go into Mr. Klug's untruthful character?
I'll look it up.
We had a motion hearing. It was all brought up. I signed the order, and now it's not coming in.
So the court's not going to allow the defense to cross-examine this witness about specific instances of untruthful character.
Well, you should have brought it up when we discussed all these other acts.
Judge, I'm just asking a question so we can clarify the appellate.
You're not going to get an answer that you want.
I just want to know if we can
You
cross-examine.
understand that?
I do, Judge.
You're not going to box me into something.
I'm not
I'm not going to play that game.
I'm not trying to do that.
You are.
I'm just trying to
You-
clarify because there
I
are.
told you we had pretrial motions.
I want to know.
You were here.
I know I
Oh.
was.
So was Ms. Renner.
I want to know for when we call witnesses. So I need to clarify this so I can determine.
Maybe look at the order I signed in the motion you filed.
Oh,
It's not coming
Judge,
in. Bring the
just
jury back.
Slam that down. Dang. Oof. Judge was on fire. He wasn't playing that. Man. Man, oh man. We will bookmark this one. Do.
2002 CF 314, the appearances are the same. I sustain the objection, so let's move into something else, Ms. Renner.
I have no further questions.
All right, any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh.
So you were
But
asked
they're
about
on.
your conversation that you had the very morning after speaking with Mark Jensen with Ron Ruck. Do you recall being asked those questions?
Yes, I do.
And did you have as full of a conversation with Ron Ruck as you had with your wife, Joanne Klug?
Not at that time.
And so that morning, you did not describe in detail what Mark Jensen had said to you, to Ron Ruck?
I may have told him that what Mark was planning on doing because Mark was also his manager and wanted to let him know the character that he was working with.
And to be clear, it was
Hey,
not you
cool
and Mark
frog.
mutually talking about killing your wives?
That's correct. I was not planning on killing my wife.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
So, Mr. Klug, you were asked questions about your initial testimony in July of 2007 and whether you specifically mentioned ethylene glycol. Do you recall those questions?
Yes, I do.
Now, at that forfeiture hearing, you did testify about Mark telling you about a substance that would slowly crystallize you from the outside. Is that correct?
Inside out, yes, correct.
Or inside of your body out?
That's correct.
Okay, so you recall at that time not saying ethylene glycol, but talking about crystallizing.
That's correct because I didn't know what that chemical was.
And to be clear, at that hearing, you didn't just testify about Benadryl, correct?
That's correct.
You talked about poisons.
That's correct.
Now, there was some discussion about how you composed these notes that you prepared. So I'm going to show you. This would be on State's Exhibit number 11. Now, if you look in front of you at the paper that is State's Exhibit 13,
Yes.
take a look at that and then take a look at the screen and let us know if you believe that those are the same things.
Yes, they are.
Okay, so you have 4 pages in front of you.
Yes,
Okay, and so as you can see from the screen and what's in front of you, this is clearly not a written out statement, correct?
that's correct.
And is this how you would write notes to yourself?
Yes, I mean, when you're getting a thought, you write it down and then you review it and you might have some more thoughts and then you add to your thoughts.
Okay, and then when you talked about the date of these notes, you refer to there being a date right on the notes. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and so is that what we're seeing on the screen here in the middle? These
Yeah,
two?
yes, there's 2 dates, 3/21/02 and 4/10/02.
Okay, and so this is where you mentioned Quinn Wharton, correct?
Yes, correct.
And then calling the DA and leaving a voicemail?
That's correct.
Okay, and then you're
Yeah,
feeling
does
about
everybody
it?
say hello to Cool Frog?
Yeah, and then I put people have a tendency to open up to me. We talked for a long time in the lobby of the hotel. He told me how unhappy he was in his marriage, without his marriage.
Okay, so that's page 1 that you just
That's
told us?
correct. Yep.
Okay, and then page 2.
Conversations about
Could that be spouses?
spouses. Yeah, spouses. Conversations about spouses. After bar, closing, conversation, can't remember everything.
Okay, so that would be page 2 of the
Correct.
notes? And then page 3, there's some drawings on page 3.
Yeah, yeah, my doodling. Then it says home, let's see, something, conversation, tired, friend to befriend, Mark Jensen. And
Is
then,
that instead of tired, is that tried?
oh, I'm sorry. Mark tried to friend, conversation friend to friend.
Okay, so you were writing down your impression of your conversation with him?
Yes, right.
Okay, and then you see the word in the middle here, premeditated.
Yeah, premeditated.
Do you recall where that word came from, why you wrote that?
I believe it was because we had the conversation. He was telling me how he
this
was going to
is
kill his wife, so he had
07
plenty of
when
time
he's
to
writing some
think
of this
about
other
how he was going to
stuff.
kill her.
Much
And then you have
later.
these notes on the side with the various dates.
Yep, Friday and Saturday, 11/8, 11/6, 11/7. The blueprint for success.
So
And then
2007.
Don Cooper was one of the people who was there?
Yes. And then it says, is that gay talk? Gay talk at bar? Hotel, 2 a.m. to 3:30 a.m. Question mark. After bar, sat in the lobby drinking coffee. He talked about getting rid of his wife. Mark Jensen unloaded a lot and gave me a story about how his wife had affairs and he wanted to get rid of her.
And so here in the middle where you kind of have this crammed in
Well,
here,
that could
he talks
mean
about killing his wife.
anything.
Is that what it says?
Yes.
And then finally on this 4th page, that begins with the word psycho.
Yes.
And did you believe that that was the word Mark had used for his wife?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
And then it
So
says something like next Monday, useless here.
this guy
you
is
have
just
any recollection of
adding
that?
notes.
Next Monday, useless. I'm not sure what that means.
And then thought was odd. Talked
Yeah.
every few weeks. You see those words?
Yeah. We never mentioned anything about the conversation, so that's probably what my notes were. That it was odd that he never brought it up again. I've never had another conversation with Mark about that.
So what's really odd here is you'll see that he wrote all of this stuff in, and in between that, switched up a little bit of handwriting here. So that was 9-9, and then he just this guy some kooky stuff going on with
And
him.
so when the defense is kind of asking you about stuff written off to the side, that would be like this
I don't
right
know if
here,
they're
which
just
was the past.
making a
Yes.
bunch of crap up and
And then you have
feeding
written
these
here, is that an attempt
witnesses or
assault,
what.
Benadryl?
Yeah, BENADER, and then /OD overdose / get out of bed.
And then you made note of when the time period when he would have been in charge.
Yeah,
put
10/1 plus, from
2/15,
10/1 of
but it
98
could
to
be
3/15 of 99.
3.
Okay, and so you think that was actually 3 March and not February?
Yes,
Well,
yes.
he
Yeah, 'cause
thinks.
it looks like I had 2, but then I changed it to a 3.
All right, and then what is this next part here under the line? Is that talked?
Talk, TAL, yeah, talk to people, conversation, uneasy about. And then the 10/1/01 weekend. See, Kelly came to, so actually I put 10/1/01, but that would have been 10/1 of 98. So that date would be wrong.
Man, this
And
guy's
then Kelly came to set up
making.
the office.
Ugh.
Dawn Cooper was best friends with Kelly. I called her back. Is that back? Fourth? Back?
Maybe Rockford?
Oh, called her Rockford. Maybe she worked in the Rockford office or something. I'm not sure. Or
Was
she was
there-
setting up. Oh, she was on another transition. She was setting up the Rockford office. They were converting a Baird office to Stiefel.
Okay, and then you have some note about here, like above the gay talk again.
Yeah.
And then finally,
Probably
remember.
guy
Yeah, I
talk.
think that the gay talk was something about Mark drawing pictures of penises or something. It was a really odd conversation that they kept a diary, Mark and Kelly, about all the.
Objection, Your Honor, calls for hearsay outside the scope of this.
Sustained. Let's go to another question.
So again, when you were asked about maybe adding things or whatever to the notes, I mean, this is what it looks like.
This is what it looks like. My handwriting is horrible.
And there's some things in here that even you can't
I
really.
can't even read some of my own writing.
Okay. Now, and when you were asked about these notes, you were asked about your first initial testimony after you had been contacted by the DA's office. And to be clear, the time frame there, you only had a couple days between talking to the DA's office and testifying, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And you found these notes later.
Yes.
Okay. So were you trying to be misleading about not having notes?
No, I'm a pack rat. I keep everything. And I went through the different files that I had, and these are what I came up with, from my compliance file.
Okay. And did you provide those phone records too that we had looked at?
Yes, I think I went through my tax documents then because I wanted to, I was amazed that I had this record.
And so then just to go to those
Sure,
phone records, just
everybody
so
else
we
was
can
too.
be clear on that. So if you look at the screen, is that the same as Exhibit 12 you have in front of you?
Yes, it's my home phone bill from
Streams,
AT&T America.
Wild and fast.
And so in terms of your memories about the conversations with your
But
wife,
without
about what Mark
leather.
Jensen had said, you recalled an initial conversation with your wife, correct?
Yes,
And then you go back and you talk to Mark Jensen more.
yes, and she didn't want me to go down and talk anymore.
Okay. And then you have another conversation with your wife still in those early morning hours.
Yes,
So here in State's Exhibit number 12, you can see that there's the initial 2:34 a.m. phone call, correct?
correct.
Then there's a time gap
Yes.
until 3:38 a.m. Is that correct?
Yep.
And then there's another time gap until 4:01, 4:02, 4:06.
Yes.
Okay. And so do you know which time gap is the time gap where you went downstairs to talk to Mark again, or can you not independently recall that now?
I can't recall that, and I'm not sure if I went down there twice, if I went down there once. But I know that I did go back down to talk to him, and and I can picture it in my mind sitting there talking with him.
Okay. So I want you to think back still to that late evening conversation at the bar with Mark Jensen. So you just
Really
reviewed the
think
notes that
this
you have
guy is
provided,
making up
that you
half
eventually
of the
provided.
stuff that he's
So in those
telling.
notes, there is a reference to gay talk.
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall anything that would have matched that note in your conversation with Mark Jensen at the bar or after the bar?
The only thing that I remember was the fact that they were talking a lot about penises.
Okay. And that's you and Mark being a part of that conversation?
Yes.
Okay. And that's downstairs at that bar?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
you
what
said they were
guys
talking a
do.
lot,
We
so what do
talk
you mean?
Well, it
about
was Dawn and
penises.
myself and Kelly, I believe, and
Oh.
me.
Okay. So you at least remember
Oh.
those 4 people?
Yes.
Okay. So you remember those 4 people as part of that conversation
Yes.
before the other people cleared out and you were with Mark?
Yeah, that was after bar close. It was drinking coffee. It was, just having conversation.
Now, during that conversation, do you recall anything about drawings or diagrams or anything?
Yes, we were drawing penises on the wall.
Drawings or diagrams. I don't.
Okay, so in terms of any reference you've made to drawings or diagrams, is that anything that you heard from the defendant?
I know that they were talking about drawings. That they were basically comparing different penis sizes, and Kelly was saying,
Objection, Your Honor. I believe the witness hasn't actually answered the question of, did he have any conversation with Mr. Jensen about that? Because that's the only way that should come in.
Why don't you just rephrase the question, Ms. McNeil?
So again, I'm just talking about things that you heard, not if you know whether it's true or not,
Okay.
but whether anyone in those conversations that you were having either at the bar or after the bar, whether you heard anyone talking about diagrams or drawings of penises.
yes.
Okay, and what did you hear about that?
There was a lot of talk about different size of penises from lovers and ex-lovers.
Okay. And you remember Kelly Labonte being a part of that conversation?
Yeah, don't lie.
I don't recall.
Okay. You remember Mark Jensen being a
I
part of that
remember Mark
conversation?
and Dawn.
Okay. And is it true that Kelly was there for a large portion of the night?
Yes.
Correct. Okay. And so, going back to your notes, is that what you were referring to with gay talk?
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
He was getting very uncomfortable about the gay talk. He might have been getting slightly aroused. And, well, he does look a little puffy.
Okay. So what you've just testified to, is that something in terms of standing out in your mind? Is that a conversation that was unusual?
Yeah, the whole conversation was unusual.
So that's not a topic that you typically discussed at bars when you're out with people?
No.
So Judge, I have no further questions.
Any recross?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Klug, Kelly Labonte actually left at bar time, didn't she?
I don't recall.
Oh.
I don't recall.
Oh.
And as far as the
This
notes,
is not the fun
which is
part.
Exhibit 13, you said you testified you wrote these in 2002, right?
That's correct.
But you didn't turn them over to law enforcement in 2002.
That's correct.
You didn't turn them over to law enforcement in 2003.
No.
You didn't turn them over in
It's hard to
2004.
tell with Kristen.
Nope.
You didn't turn them over in 2005.
No.
You didn't turn them over in 2006.
No.
And it was only after your testimony in 2007 that
Oh.
these came to light.
That's correct.
Oh.
Nothing else.
All right, you're excused. Thank you.
Yeah. This guy's a horrible, horrible witness.
She's 32.
My distinguished co-counsel says it's number 32, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Yes.
Let's see
It
who
is
we
32,
got.
she has confirmed.
Come on, drag her in.
Just remain standing, raise your right hand, I'll swear in. You solemnly swear that the testimony in this matter be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you. You can have a seat. Get as close as you can to the microphone. Spell your first and last name for the reporter.
Ms. Klug, did you get a question yourself?
No.
The judge instructed you to spell your first and last name for the court reporter.
Joanne, J-O, capital
Oh,
A,
this is
and N-E,
this dude's
Klug,
wife
K-L-U-G.
that just
And Ms. Klug,
testified.
do you know Ed Klug?
Yes, I do.
Could you tell the jury how you know Ed Klug?
I was married to Mr. Klug for 29 years.
And
Ex-wife.
you say that in the past tense, so you're no longer married to Ed Klug?
That is correct.
And who filed for divorce, you or him?
I did.
And when did you file for divorce?
That was in 2011,
And
Oh.
when was your divorce final?
2013.
So it took almost 2 years to get divorced?
Correct.
And
Dang.
was it an amicable divorce or was it a rancorous divorce?
In the end, it was
Those
amicable
just-
in the end.
But earlier on, it was not so amicable?
No, not during the 2 years.
Where do you live these days?
I am in Wyoming.
So, and when did you move to Wyoming?
That would have been shortly after 2013 when the divorce was final.
And so you lived there since 2013?
That's correct.
So it's quite a trek for you to get here for the trial.
Yes.
What was the weather like in Wyoming as you were leaving?
We had a storm the night before.
We don't care.
So what kind of a storm was it? A snowstorm?
Right from my
Come on.
town to Casper, where I was.
Really get here.
Don't care.
Um,
don't care.
You were married to Ed Klug back in November, December of 1998. Is that true?
Yeah,
that's
she
true.
just basically.
And do you remember a
confirmed
time
she talked to him
in November
on the
of
phone
1998
about
when your husband Ed
all of
Klug had
this
gone
other
to St.
stuff.
Louis for a conference for his place of work at Stifel Nicholas?
Yes, I do remember.
And what was it that stood out about you? And what was it that stood out in your mind about that trip that he took to Stifel Nicholas? Was there anything unusual about it?
It was in the early morning hours of November 7th, anywhere from 2:30 to 3:30. I had 2 phone conversations with him.
And
Just
So-
two.
I probably talked to my wife back in November of 1998 too, but I don't remember the conversations. What is it that would cause you to remember these conversations now, 24 years later?
I had placed a phone call to the hotel and they transferred me to his room and he picked up the phone.
And what do you remember anything about that conversation?
Yes.
What do you remember about the conversation?
He said he was having the weirdest conversation with Mr. Jensen and that they were talking about wives. And from there, he said that Mr. Jensen had said that there were websites that you can go on how to kill your wife.
And so when your husband told you this, gave you this information, do you remember what your response or what your reaction was to that?
Let me think for a moment here. After he had told me that, he had mentioned the word Benadryl,
Was this during the first conversation or the second
Benadryl.
conversation?
the first conversation.
So after
The
you mentioned the word
second
Benadryl, do you recall what your
conversation
response was to these
something
statements
else.
that your husband was making to you?
Mr. Klug wanted to go back to the conversation. And I basically told him that he was stupid to do so.
Yes.
And did he listen to you or did he go back to the conversation?
No, he did not listen to me. He went back.
And did you have any
He
other
was stupid.
conversations with Mr. Klug then later that morning?
There was a second conversation.
So tell the jury about that second conversation. Do
I placed the phone call. And again, he answered it.
you remember about what time that call was or how much time elapsed between the first and second phone call?
It had to have been more than a half an hour. As far as I can remember, it was more than a half an hour.
So do you remember anything that your husband told you during the second conversation?
In the second conversation, I asked him, what would two educated men be doing talking like that in the early morning hours?
And did he say anything more about the conversation at that point?
At that point, no, he did not.
Did you talk to your husband again once he got to the airport?
He called me from the airport.
And do you remember anything about the conversation when he called you from the airport?
He was going to tell me his flight, when his estimated time for arrival, coming home. And then, because the question in my mind after those first two conversations, I was trying to understand, how can someone die from Benadryl?
And did you ask Mr. Klug about that?
Yes, I did ask.
And do you recall what Mr. Klug told you in response to that
And
question?
he told me antifreeze.
Do you remember anything else about that conversation?
believe
After
that.
that conversation, no, I do not. I do
Now,
not.
at some point, after your husband had returned from the blueprint in St. Louis, do you recall ever hearing about whatever happened to Julie Jensen?
That was December of 1998.
And how did you hear about what had happened to Julie Jensen?
I heard it from Mr. Klug.
And what did Mr. Klug tell you?
He told me that he called Mr. Jensen to offer his condolences.
So at the time that you learned, I mean, you'd heard previously about this conversation that Mark Jensen had with your husband about killing his wife. And then just a month or so later, you hear that Julie Jensen is dead. Did you and your husband discuss whether he should go to the authorities and tell them about this conversation?
He had asked me what he should do.
And did you have any insights as to what he should do?
Put the ball in my court. I put it back into his court.
So what do you mean by that?
He was
We
there
were
that
playing
evening.
tennis. We were
You heard
just
the
hitting
conversation.
balls back and forth.
Then he was relaying it back to me. And I remember telling him that if he goes forward with this, that I would stand beside him because he made me party to that conversation.
But did your husband come forward at that time?
No, he did not.
Now, at some later time, you had heard that Mark Jensen had been charged with the murder of Julie Jensen. Is that true?
Yes,
And how did you learn that Mark Jensen had been charged with the murder of Julie Jensen?
that was from Mr. Klug. He told
So
me that.
when Mr. Klug told you about that, did you and he again discuss the likelihood or the appropriateness of him to step forward and tell the authorities about that conversation that he'd had with Mark Jensen?
I did not offer any more advice on it. It was like having an elephant in the room. You didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to talk about it anymore.
So he did not come forward in 2002, did he?
No, he did not.
And when was the next time that anybody talked to you about this conversation that you'd had with your husband, Ed Klug, on November 7th, 1998? Remember when the first time you ever spoke to a law enforcement officer or anybody from the government about this?
2007.
And what transpired at that time?
That was when I was called to talk to Detective Ratzberg, and he asked me questions and he wrote things down about my
But
conversation.
no one had balls.
And then you testified in 2007?
They were just
Yes,
And you
making a lot
testified
of
again in
weapons.
early 2008?
that's correct.
And now you're testifying again in 2023.
That's correct.
As you're sitting here today, is there anything else that you remember about those conversations that you had with your husband back on November 7th, 1998? Is there anything else that you can remember that you haven't disclosed already?
Well, in 2007, no, I have no recollection of onward of having a deep discussion about the conversation. He didn't want to talk about it. I did not want to talk about it.
So, but what I'm asking you now is right now today,
Oh.
is there anything else about that conversation, those conversations that you had with your husband in 1998? Is there anything else that you can remember about them that you have not already disclosed?
Well, December of 1998, when he told me that Julie died and he gave the condolences to Mr. Jensen, he said that Mr. Jensen told him that she had been sickly and taking too much Benadryl.
And at that point, did you ask your husband if he confronted Mr. Jensen about the conversation that he had with him on November
That's
7th?
interesting.
No,
In December of 1998, did you know what the relationship was, the business relationship was between your husband and Mark Jensen?
well, he was senior vice president of Stiefel Nicholas, Mr. Klug, and he was transferring clients from Robert W. Baird. And Mr. Klug did not have his Series 8 license to sign off. And then Mr. Jensen, he was supposed to be doing that, helping him with the office.
Oh. I wonder why he didn't.
At some point during the November 7th, one of these November 7th, 1998 conversations with your husband, did you ever ask him what he'd been drinking or if he'd been drinking?
Let me think back. In November of 1998, in the second conversation, when I had asked him what would two intelligent men be talking like that so early in the morning, and his response was they were bashing wives and talking about secretaries. And then I said, "What are you drinking?"
And why did you ask that? Why would you ask him what he was drinking?
Well, as opposed to how much, I was what you were drinking, because
Well, why would you ask what he was drinking instead of how much he was drinking?
Mr. Klug does not drink beer. He drinks mixed drinks and has been known to have them watered down so that he can continue talking to other people at the
what all these
conference.
people believe.
So
is
that was
complete-
why I said,
complete
"What were you drinking?"
nonsense.
And he said,
They are so silly.
"I switched to coffee."
When you
Uh-huh.
talked to your husband, on November 7th, 1998, did he sound like he was intoxicated to you?
He was clear.
His words
Very-
weren't slurred?
No, there was no slurring of words.
So do you have an opinion as to whether or not he sounded or to be under the influence or not?
He did not sound under the influence.
Now,
Sometimes I
Since you
can
moved to
sound like I'm
Wyoming,
under the influence
have you
of
had
that
any
beat.
conversations with anybody about this case?
No,
Do you recall anybody from the defense team reaching out to you?
Objection, relevance.
Oh, we'll see what she says.
yes, somebody
We'll
from
get into it. Go ahead.
So tell us about that. Tell us about how this came about.
a strange guy came up to the door and knocked on the door.
And did he just tell you who he was?
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
Well, what if the prosecution had somebody talking to your witnesses? Once you ask that question, so I'm supposed to be neutral. We're getting into it.
Oh,
So tell us about when this person knocked on your
Knocked
door.
down by the
What did he
judge.
say?
I stepped outside and he addressed who he was. And I think I asked if he was defense. And he said he was. He wanted to talk about my testimony. And I said, no, my testimony stands as it was in 2008. In fact, I said it 3 to 4 times to him. He didn't want to go away. And he achieved that by sitting on the picnic table.
well, that's good to know.
And then he wanted to ask me about 2 witnesses. And I told him that I don't know what their opinion is. I don't want to know what it is. And that my testimony from
Well, it
2008
should be. I've got
stands
it
as it is.
1.75.
So when this person, you live in kind of a remote area of Wyoming, is that
Yes,
true?
it's rural.
So you're not accustomed to strangers coming to your door.
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
Let's move on to something else. Go ahead.
So did this person, when they knocked on your door, had they called you first to set up an appointment?
Objection, relevance.
We'll try to get to the point, Mr. Jones.
You can answer the question.
No, he just showed up.
He's typing out
Um,
SOS.
So when you
SOS.
testified in 2007 and
SOS.
2008, at that time you were still married to your husband,
Correct.
and now you're divorced from your husband.
Correct.
Is there anything about your testimony that would change? Or is there anything that you would change about your testimony from 2007 and 2008 to today?
No,
So you stand by your previous testimony.
that's correct.
I'm sure they'll get something out of her on cross.
So let's talk about the question, the conversation that occurred when your husband was at the airport on November 7th, 1998. Tell us what it was that you were confused about again.
Well, in the first 2 conversations, I didn't get my answer as to how could Benadryl harm you.
And so you want clarification on that point?
Well, I didn't know how Benadryl could kill you. So in that 3rd conversation in the airport, I asked him.
What did
Oh.
you ask him?
I asked him, how can Benadryl harm you? And he said, antifreeze.
What? Makes no sense.
Thank you, Mrs. Klug. I don't have any further
All
questions.
right, who's doing the cross?
That'd be me, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Ms. Klug, is your last name still Klug?
That's correct. That's correct.
Now you testified that you spoke twice with your husband on the Friday night, Saturday morning of the Blueprint Conference.
Correct.
Well,
And
that's
first
good to
conversation
know,
was around
Crystal.
2:30 a.m.
From my recollection, anywhere from 2:38 to 3:30, the 2 conversations occurred.
Would it assist you to refresh your recollection if you looked at the bill from that time of period? The telephone bill?
Sure.
I'm showing you Exhibit 12 here. You could review that and let me know when you're done.
Okay. I'm showing 2:34 and 3:38.
Correct. So the first conversation was at 2:34 a.m.
Correct.
And that was about a 2-minute conversation.
Yes. To me, it was 5 minutes, but it was quick, apparently.
So again, you're looking at Exhibit 12 right there.
Yes.
And that's what's showing you that it was a 2-minute conversation?
Correct.
You indicated that during this conversation, you didn't want Mr. Klug to go back downstairs,
That's correct.
but he was interested?
Yes.
He wanted to go back down.
He wanted to go back
Morbid
down, and I told him he was stupid to do so.
Did Mr. Klug sound like he was having fun during that first conversation?
No, he was just amazed at the type of conversation he was having.
And so then there's a second conversation at 3:38.
Correct.
And how long did that conversation go
It's
for?
showing 4 minutes.
So that's the second conversation you spoke about?
Correct.
Now, there's a number of phone calls at 4:01 as well.
Correct.
And
Sure.
it appears that there's a number of hang up and callbacks.
Yes, I was checking to see if he came back to the room, but he did not pick up the phone calls. For
Oh,
those series of phone calls.
Well, for that series
Shame.
of phone calls, I'd ask that you look at Exhibit 12 and tell me how long those phone calls each were.
Let's see. 4:02 is 4 minutes and 4:06 is 5.
whoa.
So Mr. Klug did pick up during those, didn't he?
Apparently.
I can't recall at 4:02 and 4:06 the exact time, but maybe it was later than what I thought.
Oh. She's a little
Now, Ms.
nervous
Klug,
now.
you didn't reach out to law enforcement in 1998, did you?
No,
You didn't reach out to the district attorney's
Yes,
office?
Crystal, thank you.
no, not in 1998.
You didn't reach out in 1999?
No,
You didn't reach out in 2000?
correct,
You didn't reach out in 2001?
correct,
You didn't reach out in 2002?
correct,
You didn't reach out in 2003?
correct,
You didn't reach out in 2004?
correct,
You didn't reach out in 2005?
Correct?
And you didn't reach out in 2006.
Correct.
Now, you heard in 1999 that Julie Jensen died.
Yes.
Or you actually, was it in 1998 or 1999, if you recall?
December of 1997.
98?
Or December of 1998.
Okay.
Yes.
It's okay. It's a long time ago, right?
Correct.
22 years ago?
Yes.
Oh,
Or 24 years?
20, yes, 24.
Sorry, council's math is not so great today.
This council's is. It's your council. You speak for yourself.
wow.
Now, you first spoke with law enforcement about this case in 2007.
Yes.
Now, you also were aware in 2002 that Mr. Jensen had been charged with this case.
Yes.
And in fact, you had looked it up on the internet.
The internet was a reporter, but that was way back in 2007. So from 2002 onward, I got on with life. I mean, I had a 20-year-old who moved back home, but he took a girlfriend who had an 18-month-old. I had a daughter in high school, a son in middle school, and their lives were active.
So you had your own life going on.
So I did not address that situation. I got on with my family.
But you were made aware of the charging in 2002.
That's correct.
Now, you first spoke with Detective
You
Ratsburg on
guys
July
are calm
31st of
enough.
2007, right?
I don't need moderation
It
yet.
was July or August,
soon as
one of
I
the two,
do,
from what I can remember.
Well, it was the day after your
Maybe
husband
some fine
testified
people
in this case?
getting some wrenches
It may have been.
around here.
And you were aware of your husband testifying?
Yes, he told me he was going to testify.
And you spoke with your husband about the testimony?
I didn't ask him about his testimony.
But you did speak with him afterwards?
Afterwards, when he came home that day, I just asked him how he felt about the situation, if he could do a recall, but he was reticent. He didn't want to talk to me. And I was fine with that because I didn't want to hear anything.
Now, when you spoke with Detective
Look at you,
Ratsburg,
Crystal.
he reached out to you, correct?
Yes,
And you knew how serious of a case this was.
that's correct.
You knew that you had to tell the truth, right?
Yes.
And you had to tell the detective everything you knew.
From my recollection, yes.
Right.
I wasn't looking closely enough at it, and at first I thought his name tag said bitch. That's what I thought it said. The one that you think is so hot, Crystal. That's what I thought his name tag said. And once it zoomed in, I saw that it was K-Stitch. I think that means Kevin.
With red marks as Exhibit C14.
Kyle.
Do you recognize this document?
Yes, I do.
And what is it?
It's a Pleasant Prairie Police Department witness statement.
And that's your statement.
Yes,
Now, that was written by Detective Ratsburg, correct?
correct.
But you signed it.
I signed it.
You also initialed it?
Just a signature. No initials are showing on here.
Oh,
Now, this statement, there's no reference to antifreeze, is there?
That's correct.
You don't reference ethylene glycol?
No,
no.
The only thing talked about is Benadryl, correct?
correct.
Now, you made sure that this was an accurate statement when it was written for you, right?
Accurate at that time that it was written
Oh,
You made sure it contained all the information you thought was relevant?
at that time, but there was still something missing, and I could not put something in if I could not remember it.
oh.
And this statement doesn't include anything about a conversation when Mr. Klug was at the airport, does it?
That's correct. It's not in here.
And in fact, it states, I do recall after Ed returning home, he discussed what Mark said about the websites, etc. However, it was a minor discussion, right?
I don't, to this day, I don't remember that discussion, though.
You don't remember the discussion that happened in the
when
airport?
Mr. Klug comes home and discussing
Stitch.
websites with Mr. Jensen.
So you didn't say that that wasn't your statement?
No, this is my statement. It's just when Mr. Klug came home on July of 2007, I can't remember any lengthy conversation. It's just he was I know that he was reticent, but he didn't go back into depth about talking about websites.
So during your discussion with Detective Ratsburg, did he ask you if you recalled any other conversations about your conversations that from November 7th?
No, I cannot recall.
But I do
asked
think it's
if
funny.
I had
you
any more
put it in.
conversations.
Okay, bitch.
And you did not tell Detective Ratsburg about any conversation while Mr. Klug was at the airport?
No, because that was a part that was missing as I was trying to do recall. And I don't act upon emotions. I'm very logical and patient. And that's why in July of 2009, I remembered that. That was the missing piece.
Oh, that's what it was.
Because
After I was
I wanted to
reminded.
know how Benadryl could kill you.
Oh,
And so you recalled this in 2009?
No, it was sometime afterwards,
20
before
some odd
the
years
trial
later.
of 2008.
And in Ms. Klug, in your testimony, no, strike that.
Yeah, there's no point. Just
So Ms. Klug, you recalled that airport conversation almost a decade after it occurred?
No, that was in January 2008, after the 2007 forfeiture hearing.
So, Ms.
That's when I,
So, Ms. Klug, you gave a statement in 2007 to Detective Ratzberg, right?
Correct.
On July 31st.
yes.
And at the time of that statement, you did not recall the airport conversation.
It was something there, but I couldn't remember the whole thing.
Uh-huh.
And so you didn't talk about it with Detective Ratzberg.
So I did not talk about it to Detective Ratzberg.
Oh, sure.
And you did recall it before 2008.
Correct.
So there was almost a decade between the actual conversation,
But 2007 to 2008 is only a,
the conversation with Mr. Klug from the airport.
oh,
There's almost a decade in between that and your recall of it.
okay, gotcha. Yes.
Nothing further.
Hmm.
Are we done with this witness, Mr. McKim?
You testified in July of 2007 about this matter, is that correct?
Correct.
And in July, I think it was July 31st, 2007,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, August 30th, 2007, you testified then about the conversations that you had with your husband, both at the hotel and then later at the airport. Is that true?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Okay, so when you testified in August 30th of 2007 at a hearing in this matter, at that time, you did relate the conversations, both conversations that occurred at the hotel and then the third conversation that occurred at the airport, correct?
Correct. In one of the proceedings.
Yes, and that was essentially the same testimony that you've given today.
That's correct.
You testified in August of 2007 that he had called you from the airport, correct?
Yes.
And it was at that time you'd asked him, how could Benadryl kill you? And he said it was the antifreeze.
Correct. He said antifreeze.
It
And that was your
was.
testimony on August 30th, 2007,
Yes.
about the conversation that you had November 7th, 1998.
Because November 7th of 2007 was the forfeiture. So yes.
Oh, boy.
Nothing further.
Anything on those, Ms. Renner?
No.
All right, folks, I got to talk about some legal issues with the attorney, so they're going to get a shorter lunch than you. So 1:15, be back.
Oh, yeah. Come on. Get him, get him, get him, get him, get him. I want to hear what the judge has to say.
On the issue of Mr. Klug as to what Ms. Renner was trying to ask and what Ms. Krause was asking me. Here's the record. 2016, a motion was filed, and we heard this motion November 21st, 2022.
Oh,
It says, defendant's motion to admit specific instances of conduct of Edward Klug. It's signed by Ms. Renner. On page 5 of the motion, it says we're going to talk about two different evidentiary reasons. One, other acts, also 90608, which is character and conduct of the witness. So we had the motion here. And thank God the transcript is in front of me. Usually it's
Oh,
not typed
look
up
at
that fast. And what does the transcript say? This is Ms. Renner. Page 36. Your Honor, under the rules of evidence, we're also able to get into specific instances of untruthful conduct. And we went through all the facts of the untruthful conduct, the financial dealings. The allegation was he was signing documents that clients didn't know about. He was doing all this illegal activity. We argued it.
oh.
I basically said there was nothing there. It was a complaint filed by some client that was going through a divorce. There was no IRS issues. There's a board for brokers. They never found him guilty of anything. There was nothing. So then we all decide, well,
Could
let's
be,
put that in
could
writing.
be.
Let's put that in the order. So I got two orders. I got one from the defense. I got one from the state. This is the defense's order. Number 10, in regards to the defense motion regarding Edward Klug, the defense is precluded from questioning Mr. Klug about the FINRA allegations, but may question him regarding some criminal allegations, and that issue went away. So this is your order saying you're not going to be able to get into it. Don't interrupt me. And then we got the state's motion, their order.
No, I like this judge. He ain't playing.
Page 2 of the order I signed. Besides the defense's order that says we're not going there, their own order. It says, defendant's motion to admit specific instances of conduct of Edward Klug filed on November 29, 2016 and July 31st of 2017. The court denies these motions for the reasons stated on the record. So we got two orders saying we're not going to get there. And what does the defense do? It goes right to that area. And what does the other counsel do? We'll explain your order, Judge. It's in writing. It's part of the record. It's here. It was denied. It was heard. Now, if the state had done something like this, the defense would be screaming.
Yep.
That's the problem sometimes with cases. The state can't appeal some issues. The defense can. So it should not have been gone to. It's in the record. And I'm shocked that you're telling me, well, wait a minute, Judge. That's not what the order says. Look at the statute. Read the transcript. Have a good lunch. We'll see you at 1
Your Honor,
o'clock.
may I make my record, please?
We're going to lunch.
What time will we do back, Your Honor?
1 o'clock. Thank you.
Oh,
Judge, at some point, can we
nice.
talk
Nice.
in chambers?
She just got
I don't know.
reamed.
Hang on. They're all gone. Okay, you can go. Thank you.
Just got reamed.
Well, let's have the defense.
Yeah, don't play that. Don't play it. He's done with her garbage. Ooh, ooh, ooh. So, Crystal, would you like me to read your recipe now, or would you like it read later? I'll give you a little bit of time. Now, I can read all of these at a later stream. It might be about 7 o'clock Eastern. Now, okay. Let's see. So, this right here, I'm pulling it up on a different spot. Oh, for the interval? Okay. Okay, I can read it a little bit later. Just write it in there whenever you're ready for it. It's okay. So,
What's that? All rise for the jury. Just turn the chair around.
we'll bring the jury back in. I'll give you a minute. We can stop for a little while. And I'll tell you that it's all right.
Jensen Matter 2002 CF 314. It is Friday afternoon at 1:20. We're going to continue with the state's case in chief. And for the benefit of the jury, what are we going to watch this afternoon, Ms. McNeil?
Judge, this is State's Exhibit 15, and it is for the unavailable witness, Officer Ronald Cosman.
And for the record, that is Cosman is Kosman. And you also indicated off the record you're going to pause through the video to show exhibits that had been filed, correct?
That is correct.
All right, so just let us know when you want to do that. With that, let's start the video.
For the record, will you please state your name and spell your first and last name?
Ronald B. Cosman, R-O-N-A-L-D, last name is spelled K-O-S-M-A-N.
And Mr. Cosman, by whom are you employed?
By the Village Pleasant Prairie Police Department
In what capacity?
as a patrol officer,
How long have you been employed as a Village Pleasant Prairie Patrol Officer?
22 years.
Were you employed as a Pleasant Prairie Patrol Officer in late November 1998?
Yes, I was.
Was there a time that you went on a deer hunting trip?
Yes.
Now, everybody stay tuned, because whenever Crystal gets back, we're going to read her recipe. It sounds very, very delicious.
There was.
And when was that?
Would have been the weekend before Thanksgiving of November of 98.
When you returned from your hunting trip, did you discover that you had any voicemail messages for you at the police department?
Yes, I did.
Tell us about those voicemail messages.
There was a message from Julie Jensen.
So when you got that message, do you
Oh, okay. So it looks like Crystal has made her way back in. So we're going to read this wonderful recipe that Crystal submitted. So Crystal's recipe is a South African lemon meringue tart. Now, as you may not know, which I did not, the South Africans love yummy treats like milk tart, custard cookies, and chocolate cookie fudge. This lemon meringue tart is not different. You will find the perfect combination between sweet and sour in this tart. This is the traditional recipe that differs from what others may call a lemon condensed milk tart, since it has egg yolk in the filling. It is an easy recipe and perfect for the kids to help too. Mine like crumbling the cookies for the crust. I'll share the ingredients. I'll actually share this recipe after this stream is over. Your ingredients are crust, any crumbled cookie type mixed with a tiny bit of butter. I use South African tennis biscuits, but digestives work well too. 125 milliliters, or a half a cup of lemon juice. 1 can, or 397 grams of condensed milk. 2 eggs, separated. A pinch of salt. 45 milliliters, or 3 tablespoons of castor sugar. You will preheat your oven to 160 degrees Celsius. That would be 325 degrees Fahrenheit. Add your lemon juice to condensed milk and mixed until thick and creamy. Beat eggs, yolks, add salt. Add to condensed milk mixture. Pour into deep, tart dish over the crust you pressed in first. Bake for 20 minutes without top layer. Top layer. Beat the egg whites until it forms peaks. Add the caster sugar little by little and beat for another minute. Spoon this onto the baked filling, forming peaked dollops as you go. Bake for another 20 minutes or until the meringue is a light brown. Then you cool it and enjoy. Use a ceramic tart dish for best results. So was that good? Was that good for you, Crystal? Because I will post a link in there because that sounds like a very, very, very tasty recipe. Now back to our regular.
Remember what day
show.
it was that you got that message?
Would have been the 24th of November.
What did you do when you got that message?
I immediately went to our chief of police and to Sergeant Rasberg and explained the situation. And I then contacted Julie.
Tell us about the contact that you had with Julie.
I gave her a call and she asked if I could stop over after 10 o'clock. She wanted to talk to me. She sounded confused, a little afraid. And
Now, you were familiar with Julie Jensen's voice?
yes, I was.
So you knew Julie Jensen as of this time.
Yes, I did.
And how did you come to know her as of that time?
Throughout the years, I had approximately 40 to 50 contacts with Julie Jensen.
And what were the 40 or 50 contacts you had with Julie Jensen concerning?
And Judge,
The majority of
excuse me, I have an objection that I previously placed on the record. If the court would like me to further state the grounds. and have it.
It's an objection to rule. I think you can answer the question, officer.
The majority of contacts I had with Julie Jensen were for harassing phone calls or other strange incidents occurring around home.
What kind of strange incidents? Do you want a special?
Not at this moment.
Thank you. What sort of unusual circumstance were you besides the harassing phone calls?
Pornographic pictures being left around the residence.
So as of November 24th, you were familiar with Julie Jensen's voice.
That is correct.
So then you went to see her.
Yes, I did. When I called her, she asked if I could stop over after 10 o'clock.
So after this phone conversation that you had with Julie Jensen, what happened next?
I then drove over to their residence and I met with Julie Jensen at that point.
And about what time was it? You recall you met with her?
I'll say it would be shortly after 10 o'clock, probably within 10:15 or 10:30,
And this was on what date?
November 24th.
So you spent a fair amount of time with her that day.
That's correct.
Did she ever get you the film?
Yes, she did.
So you waited there while she went and got the film?
We went outside and she went to the neighbor's house to get the roll of film and I stayed in front here.
How many rolls of film did you get?
I believe it was one roll.
And so she brought back a roll of film, and then what was the understanding between the two of you as to what was going to happen next?
I told Mrs. Jensen that I would take the roll of film in and we'd get it developed. And I also explained to her that if at any point in time she felt any fear of staying there, to contact the police department immediately, or if there was some other place that she could stay, I offered to try to get her some help for Women's Horizons, or if there was a relative or someone else in the area, if she felt compelled that something was going to happen, to please take that course of action.
And that seemed like pretty good advice to you?
At that particular time, yes.
What did you do with the film?
I took it down and had the roll of film developed.
And then what did you do after you had the roll of film developed?
After I picked up the pictures from being developed, I brought them back in and I viewed them at that point with Sergeant Rasberg.
When did that occur?
Would have been, I believe, might have been the same day or it might have been the 25th, I'm not sure. I don't recall the exact date.
And well, when you and Sergeant Rasberg looked at the photos, did you see anything there that would cause you to believe that Mr. Jensen was trying to kill his wife?
At that particular point, I didn't. I don't. I'd have to review the pictures again at this particular point. There's really nothing that sticks out in my mind.
Well, when we find those photographs, we'll show it to you. But tell me this: nothing leapt out at you at that point when you looked at those photographs?
I'm sorry?
Nothing leapt out at you when you looked at those photographs?
Just the list I recall, those being written down on his day planner being photographed.
You remember how many photos there were?
I would say probably 20 to 24. Maybe I don't recall.
Now, after you and Sergeant Rasberg reviewed those photos, did either you or to your knowledge, Sergeant Rasberg ever take those photos back to Julie Jensen and indicate your thoughts on that?
I didn't.
It's just
after we reviewed them, I
this
entered
one here
into
is,
evidence. And I did not have any other dealings with Julie Jensen after that conversation.
this is an old one.
There was a Mr. Voigt that thought there was a squad car stopped in front of the house after those photos had been turned over to you. That wasn't your squad car?
Objection to any suggestion there was a squad car. He doesn't know there's a squad car either. He was there, he wasn't there.
Well, I think he's got to use memory. The objections over.
I don't recall going back to Julie Jensen's after I had a roll film involved.
So you don't recall telling Julie about your findings with respect to those photographs?
No. At that point, a lot more of my time was being spent. I was a court officer as well at that point, and a lot of my time was being taken up in court. That's when Detective Rashford did more of the investigative portion of it.
Well, cool, Frog. I will
Well, at
send
some
you
point
a
after these
fresh
photos
one.
had been
How's
turned
that?
over to you, you heard that Julie Jensen was found dead.
That's correct.
And were you at the scene that day?
No, I was not.
When did you find out that Julie Jensen had died?
Because of my past dealings with her, I was notified sometime that afternoon after 3 o'clock. My shift had ended. I was home for a little while, and I received a call from our chief at that point advising me that Julie Jensen had passed away.
And did you consult anybody else in the police department on that same day or not?
That same day?
Yes.
No. I just asked our chief if he wanted me to come to the scene, and he said no, that we had adequate personnel there at that point.
We're going to get back to those photos in a minute because they're being marked as an exhibit, but let's talk about some other photos. You indicated that in the years preceding Julie's death, you responded to that residence on numerous occasions because of harassing contact and photographs and so forth.
Pornographic photos that were being thrown in residence.
Do you know when that person, when was it that Julie Jensen started first complaining about this course of conduct?
It would have been right around the same time I had the first contact with her, like 94, 95 in that area. About 94, late 93 and 1994.
And so back in 94, 93, 95, whenever this was, that this first started, what was the complaint at that time?
Her complaint was that she felt that someone maybe being too close to the home, that they were leaving those types of photographs there, and she was starting to feel very uneasy. She did say, however, that most of the time that photos were found, Mark Jensen had usually found the photographs and found them outside the residence.
So she was telling Mark Jensen was finding these photographs?
Yes.
Well, he stated most of the time.
Okay, she found some of them too?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. And did they produce those photographs to you?
I'm sorry?
Did they show you these photographs?
Yes.
Tell the jury what kind of photographs were being left around the house.
They were pornographic photographs of men and women involved in various sexual acts, including oral sex and the ejaculation of male onto a female's penis.
When you oral sex, you're
for
talking
shame.
predominantly felonious or fellatio, or both?
Both.
Did any of the women that were depicted in these photographs bear any resemblance to Julie Jensen?
At one point.
Now, how many times do you recall responding to the Jensen residence over the years preceding Julie's death regarding these harassing phone calls and these photographs?
On a rough estimate, I would say probably 30.
So maybe once a month or so?
Sometime.
That's not once a month.
It doesn't. It's not clear that it is. Although the witness can answer, and I did apparently, so I suppose that really it's really not something that I see in the
There were times that it would go maybe 4 or 5 months without any kind of contact with either Mark Jensen or Julie Jensen. And then it would seem that the annoying phone calls and the pornographic pictures would start appearing again.
Did you ever propose to Julie Jensen or make any advice to Julie Jensen as to what she could do to assist the law enforcement in conducting an investigation of these matters?
I advised her that we could start putting a trace on the phone. And I also advised her at that point to start keeping notes, a little notebook concerning dates and times of phone calls.
Do you have any recollection, now that you're sitting here, any estimation now that you're sitting here, about how many photographs you recovered from the Jensen residence during the course of this multi-year series of complaints?
I would have to give you a rough estimate, and I would say probably between 50 and 60 photographs.
And I showed this photograph that is marked as Exhibit S197.
Well, ladies, if nothing else, you know that there's only one person that could come in here and make your day even brighter. And that would be nobody but the cool frog himself.
What up, ladies?
How you doing, brother?
Pretty good, man.
So, you have a wonderful stream the other night. I saw that you were doing a fun stream.
I did a fun stream. Which one? The
What was it, Friday? Friday did a fun stream.
Friday night.
Yeah.
News articles.
Is that what you were doing? I was not able to catch up with it. I was doing streaming, trying to get some of this knocked out of the way.
Oh, so my normal noon my noon show. I actually had we were gonna played some video games for a little bit, and then we broke it down and we had some fun. We had some other people in.
Very cool. Very cool. We got the little man there.
Of course, you know there is a tadpole around, so yeah.
Hey, that's cool.
Just stop it. He usually talking about games and he's like, "Hey, I like you playing video games."
Yeah. I like playing video games. Come on, pops. Let's just play some games. But yeah, this trial has been very intense. I mean, I can't believe that. I just don't believe half the stuff that these people are saying.
I'm with you on that. It really confuses me sometimes in some of these court cases on how they can actually talk about the stuff they do. It's like,
Well, and this is 25 years after the fact, which I understand some stuff is going to change, but there was a guy that I don't even remember who it was last night because I was halfway there, halfway drunk. But he was just tore down. I mean, it was so unbelievable what he's saying. Like, oh, it was the neighbor, the Russian neighbor, and the things that he was saying was just didn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, the woman is coming to him saying, "My husband's poisoning me," and yet he doesn't do anything except for offer his cabin, which and this is of course like 8 years after all of this stuff happened. So it was like I just could not believe anything that he was saying. Whoa. And then, of course, you've got Gloop that's, as Crystal says, Augustus Gloop. Yeah, he's not, all of a sudden here comes this antifreeze and then the wife is saying the same thing. And you just go, what? I mean, is it because of something that they heard in some sort of hearing because they never mentioned it, prior to 2008? It's like, it's just not adding up with this guy. I would not be surprised if he completely walks away from this. And I don't know if you noticed, but this actual this hearing, the original judge was Judge Schrader, which did Kyle Rittenhouse.
Sure.
And so he's the judge in this. And also, if you look in the courtroom, you've got Photo Chad, which was the one that testified during the Kyle Rittenhouse trial.
Right.
Is out there in the gallery. I think he's just taking pictures, but I was like, oh, that's Nathan DeBruin. Like, so just sort of
faces don't really change too often, do they?
well, Schrader doesn't, but Kyle, Nathan,
that's 197.
it's pretty cool that he's out there and doing something.
There's on the limiting.
In limiting and
Yeah, that
general,
was cool.
general subject matter in 90404, sub 2, and 90403, and 90402. And due process.
That is.
Can I ask if you can identify the photograph? This was a photograph that Julie Jensen had given me, I believe it was in August of '98.
And I think
Is there a note on the back of that photograph?
updated.
Yes, sir.
And whose handwriting is that note?
It is Julie Jensen's handwriting.
And what does it say?
It says found 7/3/95 in truck.
And so, Judge, this would be the first exhibit that I'm showing.
Right, go ahead.
What was that? Oops.
I didn't show that. Whoa. You might want to let the record say what exhibit that number was in that trial. What exhibit that was.
Judge, that is state exhibit 197 in
All right,
the-
do that for each one because obviously the people above us higher in the higher courts, they will assist.
Better watch yourself.
What was
And did she indicate to you when she turned over this photograph to you that who found it in the truck?
She stated Mark-in. There were also some other pornographic pictures, which were not the only photograph that is in color is the one that you just showed me. All the rest appear to be either Xerox copies or something made off like a copy machine.
So this was the
This
only
is
photograph
the
that you recovered in that
same
multi-year period.
prosecutor.
This is an actual
There were
picture
pictures
from
that
this
were
trial,
recovered
right?
into evidence.
What was that?
That was an actual picture from this trial?
Yes. So, sorry, Chad. I wasn't. That wasn't me. I wasn't showing those pictures. Just let's be clear. That wasn't me. Don't. Luckily, I'm hoping that we're past the 2 hour mark. Woo.
You just hit the 2 hour mark. So, I mean, I'm
Oh.
not positive if you were past it or if you're just at it or
Yeah,
what. But
it got a little spicy there while I was trying to
Crystal's
trying
like,
to
I've been
update
warning
something
you.
there, and there we go. Now I've updated that, saved the changes. I was doing something else at the same time, so I
So
wasn't
like
paying attention to
bookmark,
chat.
you know how to use your back room, right? Your studio.
Do what?
You know how to use the studio for YouTube?
I know how to use a little bit on StreamYard, but not so much on YouTube.
Do you have your studio open?
I have Studio open for YouTube just because there was something in there that I was adding for.
Okay, so
Okay.
real quick, because you're going to keep yourself underneath the 6 hours anyway, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
I believe so. Yeah.
Right. So, okay, well, you really should, so that way you can edit. If you go over 6 hours, you can't edit.
Okay.
Right. So then, if your studio's open, so you see there's another set of chat that's sitting there, right? Like you can see the chat that's inside the StreamYard, but you can see the same on the YouTube side.
No.
Okay, so let's talk about this real quick before we go too far.
Absolutely.
I'm going to explain some of this too. So,
no, this will work.
If you go to YouTube and you go to the YouTube studio.
Yes, that's what I'm in.
Okay, you are there. Okay, hold on. Yes. Let me make sure that I'm actually speaking right on this. So when you do that, over in the right-hand side where that chat is, above there, there's little things that are called bookmarks. You can actually bookmark your spot so you know roughly where to go back and clip out that second if you needed to.
Okay. Oh, that's why. That's why I'm looking at the wrong channel. I mean, I'm in this channel. Let me see. Where is it? So, content. That's what I'm looking for. Content. Go to my live one. And then I just, go into the editor or what?
Well, I mean, in Studio itself, there's a place where you can actually click the little bookmark at the top of the screen. So it gives you a reference point on where you can go back to, cut out that second. So that way you're not whatever flagged for.
Okay. Maybe I'm not seeing it. I might be looking at the wrong thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you what I've got on my screen here.
Okay.
So let me do this. So this is what I've got on my screen here.
Oh, okay. So, where's today's live?
So click on that one.
No, go back. Go back one.
Okay, go back.
Okay, so right. Okay, so when you scan over the top of the live, you see that there's a little radio button there. That second one, that one. Yeah, click on that.
You're in the control room. Got it.
Yeah, there's your control room. So over on the right hand side, you see how chat is populated through there.
Yes.
Okay, I gotta hold on a second.
That's fine.
Where that is. I'm gonna leave a quick hello in there. So when you see that hello come across your screen,
okay,
you see where I said hello?
Yep.
Okay, right over all the way to the right. Do you see those three dots? Click on that.
Click on that.
Is it add moderator?
Gotcha.
I'm the first wrench that you got.
Oh, special.
That's how you create wrenches. That's how you create wrenches. So if you wanted any of these girls to actually be your moderator, that's how you create that. So
well, that is awesome.
Right. Okay. So now up top, right under, I can't see it because your logo's on the screen. Right at the top, there's a little flag button type thing or whatever. You can hit bookmark.
Give me just a second, and I will. There we go.
Yeah. Okay. So the second, there's a little square or whatever. It looks like a
says
bookmark.
Okay.
That one right there. When you click that, that'll actually
Okay.
give you a bookmark. What that's going to do is that's going to actually give you a reference point to go back and take out that spot where that actually occurred.
I don't even know where that occurred.
I mean, you can just hit it now, and you're going to be able to actually go back later. You're going to actually be able to find where that was, and you can clip out that second.
I did that, and it said unable to add. So something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So it's going to give you a reference point. It's going to give you a reference point so you can go back, so you can actually edit that second out.
Gotcha.
Because it was a split second, but sometimes
you don't want to have that shown.
Chris is like, if you made me a mod, I could have done that for you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, your mods have lots of abilities.
Oh, okay.
Be selective on who you're actually moderating, and make sure that you're going to be able to trust them to actually do the job the way you intended to, without them actually ruining your channel.
Right.
You really have to kind of pay attention to that. And I know I have a bunch of mods, and the bunch that I have, they've all, told me that they'd do a good job for me. They wouldn't screw me. They wouldn't, yank my channel, this, that, and the other. So, I mean, so now, there you go. Now you have a couple mods or whatever that can actually, monitor your chat, especially when you start getting bigger. You get bigger, you get a lot of people that are in and out, whatever. You get some, whatever, porn bots, whatever. They can actually remove some of that stuff for you.
Well, and I know that I know Crystal pretty well. She's been on yours quite a bit.
No, yeah, she's good people. She's good people for sure.
And I also know that Rabbit's really, really good, because I've seen her over on Hayden's channel, and seems to be doing really well with that. So, but I see Daisy in here every so often, so I don't know if I've seen Daisy modding on other channels or not. Daisy girl.
Yeah, not positive if I've seen her as a mod anywhere, but yeah, she's definitely been around. She's a good person too, So as far as that goes,
Yeah, I've seen her in other channels, and
See, there you go. Crystal's got a wrench.
Yeah.
Wrench fight.
Very cool, because I had no idea how to do that. I was like, oh man, I'm sure there's a way to do it, but I'm still figuring this stuff out. And I sent a message to what's his name? It's okay, little man. It's okay. It's all right. It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day. You got Rabbit in here. Rabbit's the best. You gotta like bunnies. Anyhow, so thank you very much for that, Cool Frog. I appreciate it. I know that you've got it mute right now, but you guys are really, really cool. So I wanted to make sure that everything goes well. And I pretty much let just about everything go on here, unless it just gets out of hand. But I think you guys are all right. I think you guys will be just fine. So we will stop sharing that one right there and go back to presenting this one right here. Excellent. So hopefully it doesn't get too spicy in there.
But apparently our chief, whoever was the custodian of evidence at that point, I believe that advised them to get rid of them.
But in terms of,
I want to be clear on this. This one is the only one of all of the photographs which you had received over the years that was in color.
That is correct.
And those that were destroyed then were all black and white.
That is correct.
All right, go ahead.
and were they on photographic paper, or did it appear that they'd been Xeroxed out of a photocopier?
It seemed to be off a photocopier with regular paper. That's the only one that had any kind of color boarding or anything written on the back.
And this is a photograph of a apparently nude woman whose face is right immediately over a man's erect penis.
That is correct.
Now, those other photos that were photocopies, or the other photocopies of photos, did they depict similar things, or it was a wide variety of pornographic poses?
It was kind of a wide variety. On some there was writing, and others there were not.
Yes, you have
What
power.
kind of writing, if you can recall?
There were writings that would be on there, like, remember when we did it this way, or is he as big as I am? Things along that nature.
And the photos that would have the language, is he as big as I am? Were those photos that depicted a penis?
Yes, it did.
Now, initially, when you commenced this investigation, did Julie Jensen indicate to you whether she had any suspects in mind for this behavior?
On the very first complaint, she felt it may have been a man that she used to work with, that she had a brief affair with.
Do you remember what that person's name was?
Perry.
Tariqa?
That's correct.
Wow.
So,
Yeah,
in
so
the course
she was
of, were you
screwing
the only
around.
Pleasant Prairie officer investigating this course of conduct, harassing conduct?
The first time I had met with Julie Jensen, she asked if
course she
she would
was.
contact me if she had any similar problems that would occur. She had some complaints in the past, and different officers would come to take the report. And she said she was just very embarrassed that she would have to keep repeating to different officers that she had an affair
So she only wanted to deal with you.
with one officer. And at that particular point when I went there, that's how it evolved.
That
So
makes
when there was a
sense.
complaint from the Jensen household, the first choice was to call you there.
She would call the police department and ask if I could stop by.
And then you come out there and you hear about the complaint.
I'm sorry?
And then you come out there and you hear from Julie about the complainant's behavior.
That is correct.
And over the course of time, did you attempt certain investigative techniques?
Kristen says she's been messing around for a long time.
Yes, we
Yep,
did.
one speaker always
We
cheated.
had set up a couple of different
Oh,
phone
yeah.
traces.
Well, what was the purpose? When you tell the jury what you're talking about, when you put it was a traffic trace? Is that what you put?
Yeah, both of them were unfaithful, from what I gather. That she messed around, and I want to say it was early on in their marriage, and they almost, or a little bit later on in their marriage, I think she had already had both of her kids. It was a co-worker, someone that she worked with, because she worked in like a stockbroker kind of field. So she was sort of a little loosey-goosey with her body in the marital bedroom, from what I gather, while he was possibly out of town with the neighbor, with one of her coworkers, and doing things that the husband wasn't getting. And of course, that was just I guess their normal course, because they were getting ready to get a divorce, and for whatever reason they didn't get divorced. They stayed married, and years later, I guess he started leaving these, according to her, she thought it was the guy that she messed around with was leaving like these dirty pictures, because he was a little angry that she had because he was going through a bad relationship or also, and just, I mean, these are just some horrible people. The crappy things they do to each other is insane. It's just like, horrible.
It was a trace through Ameritech. You can call an 800 number.
Yes,
and advise them
she
that you were having
withheld
prank phone calls.
the
And
love.
It had been
picture.
reported to the police department. She was then instructed to give the Ameritech, the phone company, a case number, event number that she had contacted the police, and then they would put a trace on the line so that they would record any incoming calls to that residence.
Now, how many times did you recall over the years having a trap and trace, or that system you just described, put in place?
Objection. He's never said there was ever a trap and trace.
Or whatever you just described.
That one was in 93.
Were there any others after 93?
Yes.
Well, how many times do you recall requesting of Julie Jensen that she institute this procedure of placing this trace system on the phones?
4 times, including that would be starting with the first one in 93.
And each of those 4 times, when the trace was installed, or the system was installed, what happened with respect to the harassing phone calls?
I would stop by and check with Julie Jensen to see if she had received any phone calls, and she had advised me that the calls had stopped.
Each and every time?
Correct.
Now, around the second, third, or fourth time, did you become suspicious that the person was making the harassing phone calls was getting tipped off?
Objection to relevance.
After the second time, Julie made a statement to me that this person always seems to be one step ahead of us. She felt that it was still very possible it may have been Perry Tariqa that had been making the phone calls. But I, at that particular point, also realized that after the second time, the calls did stop, which didn't make a lot of sense to me at that particular point, because someone would have to know that there was a trace on the line and to stop calling.
After the second time, where this trace was put on, and there were no harassing phone calls, what did you begin to suspect?
I became very suspicious that it would have to be someone who was aware that the traces were being put on the line. At that particular time, there were only 3 people that knew the traces were being put on.
Oh, and that's another thing, Cool Frog, about all of this, because I'm almost suspicious that she was doing this to herself, in a sense, because it seems like, you know, they keep making her out as she's not able to actually use a computer, but she worked as a stockbroker or in that situation where she had access to computers, but yet they're saying acting like she didn't know how to use a computer. And then they'll come back and they'll say things like, you know, there would be all of these things left around and she would go and tell. It wasn't like she told one person that she thought she was being poisoned. She told a lot of people that she thought she was being poisoned. And it's almost like they were saying, okay, well, I mean, just if my neighbor came to me and told me, and it was somebody, well, I have a couple of neighbors I'm not really close with and probably wouldn't mind. Anyhow, if I had a neighbor that I actually liked that was coming around telling me that, you know, they suspected that their husband or wife was doing something to them, I would be calling the cops. It's just
Yeah,
simple
right.
as
Be
that.
like, well, just get a hold of authorities.
Yeah.
Let's make sure that you're all taken care of. Make sure everything's okay. You know, don't sit there and dip shit around and play stupid games.
Right. That's what keeps throwing me off, is because either they didn't take her seriously because they
And
thought,
to be fair, though, I mean, this is what 98, right?
yeah,
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of people that actually knew how to actually use computers properly.
yeah, but in her line of work, I'm sure that she did.
No, right, and that's kind of where there wasn't a lot of people that really knew how to use computers at all, really. But when you actually had something where you were around them, they're very attracting. You know, she would have been attracted to that. You know, that
Yeah, seeing
situation.
what it
She
could
would have
do.
been, more prone to actually being using that kind of stuff. So, I'm with you on that. That I think she's lying about some of that.
Yes.
For sure.
So, well, and it's not even her that's lying about it, because she died after all this, but everybody else is saying, oh, she didn't know how to use it. I don't know. I just find that really suspicious to me that she didn't, and then the things that
I mean,
she would
it's easy to
say.
project against almost anything, especially back then or whatever. You really didn't have. I mean, you did, but you didn't. Because I mean, I remember. I'm like trying to think back. It's like I remember being senior before actually dropping out or whatever, being a senior in high school, and having computer class or whatever, or a typing class.
Right.
And because
Ours
my
were
parents,
crossed over, where if you were taking computer, you were taking typing also.
no, right, and basically what it was though is like they were limited to how many computers were actually in the school. So
Right.
all of the students in class, the 30 students sitting in class, how many students in class have a computer at home? Myself and two others raised their hands that we had computers in the home.
Right.
Us three were not allowed to touch the computers at the school to give everybody else a chance, because we had a computer. We were more prone to being able to already use a computer.
Gotcha.
It's like it was really strange and really odd. And that would have been 96. So I mean, within the next few years, a lot of people would have actually been really starting to use and utilize certain things when it came to computers. So for her to not utilize something that's in front of her it would be kind of silly. So
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, because it was so unique. I mean, I know that I didn't have a computer. Shoot, that would have been whenever I was in high school. I didn't have a computer until probably around 2002, somewhere around in there. But they were
see, I
really,
wouldn't have either, but I was actually 2001. I was actually enrolled in tech college, taking different types of computer classes, from computer aided design to
right.
needing computers for accounting things, and eventually taking network administration classes. So I mean,
But
really,
I was the odd one out not having a computer, because I was just so busy playing music. I just did not have time.
it wasn't something that you were interested in, right?
Right. the only time that I actually did get a computer is whenever I found that I could start recording on a computer, and start recording tracks on a computer. I was like, oh, cool. And then I went and got a computer. But up until then, I just, I was all analog, and it wasn't because I, I just found no utility for it. Whereas everybody else that had computers had them since, the mid 90s. It was not uncommon to, a lot of the people that I would hang around with, they were actually learning to code, from their father working in it at IBM or working it at Macintosh or Apple. That's where they were learning all that stuff. Hey, Jimmy.
What's up, Jimmy?
Look at that, Jimmy. Yo, Jimmy, the man.
Mm.
But yeah,
Brother?
it's crazy.
So crazy. Crystal's giving you, a way out. You were too hot to have a computer.
Yes, I was. Yes, I think I played that on an earlier stream. I actually showed a picture of what I looked like when I was 19, and yeah, I didn't have any problem with the ladies. It's my hair is naturally brown, and one of my buddies talked me into dyeing it black, and I shaved it off in a mohawk, and they were like, "Oh, you should dye it black just for the hell of it." So I dyed it black, and I got a, and this was the day that Jeff Beck died, because I was showing this picture that I've got behind me. It's a picture of Jimmy Page, and the photographer that took that picture was a big Jeff Beck fan. So,
sure.
But he took these photos of me, and a lot of my friends would tease, and they would be like, "Oh, look at that blue steel." I'm just like, you guys are freaking horrible. So, anyhow, let me continue on with this so we don't bore everybody with
how
silliness.
do you know the people that knew about this trace? To your knowledge, who told you about who knew about the trace?
I had advised Julie Jensen to give that case number to put a trace on, which she was going to do. At which point she told me she would also tell Mark.
So who were the three people, then, to your knowledge, who knew of this trap or this trace system being placed on the phones?
Mark Jensen, Julie Jensen, and myself.
So come time for the third trace, when the harassing phone call started up again, did you offer any advice to Julie Jensen?
Yes, I did.
What did you tell her?
Went again with the phone trace.
And when you asked for her to do the phone trace for the third time, did you give her any advice about who she should not specifically tell about the trace?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear the question.
When you asked her for this third time to institute a phone trace system, did you give her any advice as to who she should specifically not tell about the trace?
It was either the third or the fourth, and I asked her if she would not tell anyone, including Mark, that this be just between her and I. I explained to her at that particular point my concerns that Mark may be making the phone calls. She did not feel that Mark would do that, and I told her at that particular point, without having Mark having any knowledge that the trace being on there, if the calls stopped again, then we definitely had some other problem. But at that particular point, my suspicion was it was Mark making the calls, and I told Julie I wanted to rule Mark out as a suspect at that point.
I think when we left off, you were talking about trying to figure out a way to rule out Mark Jensen as a suspect in this case, correct?
That is correct.
And by this case, I'm talking about harassing calls, or in the photographs we went around. And so what did you say to Julie in order to alert her to the means by which you could rule out Mark Jensen as a person that you suspect of putting these, making these phone calls and these photos?
Julie didn't think that Mark would be the one that would be making the phone calls at that particular point. And I advised her that it seemed that someone unknown how would come up with the information that a trace was being put on the phones and the calls would mysteriously stop. At which point I asked her if she would keep a secret with me, and it would just be her and I that would know about this particular trace. And at that point, if it was Mark that was making the phone calls, we would find that out. It would be a civil action at that point. If she didn't want to pursue it, it would not be pursued criminally. And at that particular point, she agreed to the trace.
And she agreed to not tell Mark about the trace?
That is correct.
And so then you did another trace?
Yes, we did.
And did the harassing phone calls?
Interrogate for any of these traces too.
Well, let's talk about this trace where you'd asked Julie to not tell Mark about it. Do you remember about when that trace occurred?
I believe it would have been either late 95 or 96.
As you're sitting here now today, do you remember if that was the third time the trace was put on or the fourth time the trace was put on?
Would have been the last time would have been the fourth time.
Okay, so this is the fourth time the trace had been put on.
That is correct.
And each of the three preceding times, as soon as the trace was put on, the phone call stopped.
That's correct.
So this fourth time, what did you say to Julie about not telling Mark?
Just not to tell him that it would be our secret. And again, if
It'll be
it
our
were
little
to
secret.
turn out that Mark had been making the phone calls, she could handle it any way she wanted to. If she wanted to handle it criminally, it could be done, or she could just dismiss the whole thing. But I would, at that point, like to rule Mark out as a suspect. If the calls continued, then it would lead me in a new direction for the investigation.
So you put the trace on for the fourth time?
That is correct.
And what happened?
After about 3 or 4 days, I had not heard anything from Julie Jensen. So I stopped by, I think it would have been probably about 4 days after the trace had been activated to find out if there had been any more phone calls.
And what did she say?
She said the calls had stopped.
And what did you say?
Judging by her demeanor, she would not look me in the eye. She was looking down. And I asked her at that point if she had told Mark about the trace. And she said she had.
I want you to try to remember.
See, now that just again makes me suspicious, because if she's trying to rule him out, why wouldn't she, instead of saying, "Oh, I don't want to chase it anymore," it sounds to me like maybe she was doing this to herself. I don't know, possibly.
The precise language that you used when you asked Julie about this. How did you say it to her?
I asked her if she told Mark. And she said, yes, she had. And I believe I made a comment at that point of, Julie, why did you do that? And kind of in a disgusted language. And apparently I was a little loud because I do recall one of the children being asleep inside the home and woke up. So I may have been a little boisterous at that point.
So you were upset with her?
Absolutely.
And did she offer you an explanation as to why she told Mark?
She did not want to keep any more secrets from him. She felt bad because she had the affair. She kept that a secret, and she wanted to keep no more secrets from Mark whatsoever.
So after that, you never put any more traps on them, traces on the phone call, did you?
No, we did not.
Now, tell us about the location of some of these photos, as you recall. Over the years, did these photos show up in just one place, or were there a variety of places where the photos were allegedly popping up?
Judge, we could have some specifics as to times and places.
Photos popping up.
That's across.
Whoa.
So that means you can answer the question.
She said basically that, again, Mark had been the one finding most of the pictures. They would either be left outside the house, near the front area, the front door, by the bushes, around the garage, on the deck, and near the pool, and also somewhat by a little storage shed that they had as well. And she did tell me at one time that Mark had found some pornographic pictures in a boat that was parked inside the garage.
Did she ever describe an incident where she found the pornographic photos?
No.
Well, did she ever tell you that she found pornographic photos, or did she always say it was Mark that had found them?
She always, most of the time, she said that Mark had found the photos. Other times, photos were found, at which point I did not ask who found them. I just assumed that Mark had.
Now, during the course of this investigation, early on, Julie had indicated that she suspected her Tarika, correct?
That is correct.
Did you ever talk to Mark Jensen during the course of this investigation?
About the allegations, no.
Did Julie ever describe to you Mark's claims that he had received some of these photos at work?
Phone calls and photographs at work.
Did she describe to you the manner in which these photographs were allegedly received at work?
They were being left on his vehicle.
Now, I'm going to show you a series of photos, and for the record, they're marked exhibit S196, I'm sorry, S173 through S196. Do you see these now?
They're marked. These are ordered.
I don't think they're supposed to start. Yeah,
Manders Man Bun. What's up?
Yeah. Andor's Man Bun has been on here for quite some time.
Nice.
One of my first followers.
Well, counsel's comparing the photographs to his photographs there. I'll ask you some more questions. Aside from proposing this trace to capture the phone calls are coming from, did you ever suggest any other alternative investigative ploys or techniques that Julie or Mark Jensen might resort to in order to find out who's leaving the photographs around?
The placement of a camcorder at his place of employment.
Did you give him any advice as to where to place the camcorder?
I advised him to park in his normal location.
None
and if he could find a spot inside the building where he could record his vehicle, to record the vehicle, and at any point, if he were to find any photographs when he came back out after work or his lunch break, to call me immediately.
And do you know, to your knowledge, did they ever do that? Did they place any video cameras either in their child's bedroom or in some vicinity to Mark Jensen's truck at work?
I offered him the use of a camera, and he, at that point, said that he had a camera that he could use.
So you did talk to Mark Jensen at that point?
At that point, yes, I did.
And when you were talking to Mark Jensen at that point, did he offer you any descriptions of his understanding of what was taking place at work with respect to these photographs or harassing phone calls?
At first, he said that the camcorder could be put in a conference room, or it could be aimed out a window, and he could be able to record his truck. He then advised me that that would not work because the conference room was used by all the associates, and he didn't want to explain to all the associates that his wife had an affair, and that's why he was recording his truck at that point.
You ever learned from Mark or Julie Jensen as to whether or not they ever put a camcorder anywhere to try to catch the person or persons that were allegedly leaving these photographs around?
I was advised that the camera had been used.
Who advised you that?
Julie Jensen.
Did she tell you if they found anything?
She said they had not.
Did she tell you who placed the camera?
She said that Mark had.
Someone's got their cell phone sitting over there next to the.
Did
cable.
Julie ever indicate to you what Mark was saying about these harassing phone calls? What he would say to her about these harassing phone calls, or what he would say to her about these photos that were being allegedly left around the house?
He just was angry that she had the affair and basically blamed her for all the problems.
And how was Julie reacting to this accusation that all of these things were taking place because of that affair she had so many years ago?
I was taking an emotional strain on her and her marriage.
No. Officer Cosman, I'm going to ask you to, we're going to go through these photos one by one. In fact, I wonder if I can display them over here. This machine over here. There we go.
I've got the
Yeah,
lime
I haven't done
in
that
the
before because I was going to just
kitchen.
put them up there, but he hasn't identified it yet. Officer Cosman, I guess before I put it on the machine, I'll have you identify these photographs. Let's start with exhibit S173 and these through S196. Just flip through those photos if you would, please. Can I turn on? Oh, you don't have to turn on. Don't push the wrong button. You don't know what happened. And I just want you to go through them and see if are those the photos that you developed off the film that was provided to you by Julie Jensen?
That's correct.
Thank you. Now we'll go through them. Can we get that thing turned on your cap or not? No? Not yet.
Oh my darling.
No.
So at this point, I'm pausing the video, and I will be showing what has been marked, that was previously marked as States Exhibit 173.
Oh, don't tell me they're going to show some more. Oh, show the Mohawk pic? Maybe. I kept it down most of the time out of the Mohawk. It was very rare that I would actually.
Can the jury see that?
I'm going to try to get the views as most centered.
Nicotine, aspirin, bottle of booze, razor blades,
Librarian shells?
librarian shells. Okay.
Is that better for the
Patches,
jury? Can you see it?
shells,
The answer.
syringe.
Patches, shell, Terry, patches, aspirin. So I wonder what the syringes were for. What the syringe was
Terry
for.
had big hands.
Terry had big hands. There you go.
Is that what that?
Bottle of booze. What is that?
So now I'm going to resume the video.
This a nicotine treat?
Ribbit.
Ribbit.
I show you this item that's marked as States Exhibit 173, and is that a photograph? One of the photographs that was recovered when you developed the film that Julie Jensen provided to you?
That's correct.
What maybe NJ?
NJ.
Okay.
Started to make on
And then read the rest of it.
aspirin, bottle of booze, razor blades. Not sure what the other word is.
Is it
Librium.
Librium?
Librium shells. Deposio, Terry, patches, shells, syringe, bag handles.
Bag handles. Okay. And
Oh, bag handles. Okay.
Bag
So,
handles. Okay.
you, when you examined that list, were you able to gather any significance to the things on that list?
Not really, with the exception of maybe the syringe. It doesn't seem to be an item that a lot of people would use.
Bag
Or
handles?
that and the second one, Nicotrol and the Librium as well.
Well, and I will say,
That just
that-
wasn't a big thing then. I mean,
well, I mean, if you were doing, if maybe he was doing some barbecue. Now, like if I'm smoking a turkey or a chicken, I use a syringe. It's a really big syringe, but you can
Right.
do an injection with it. There's always a possibility that there was some other use for a syringe, and maybe that was just his shorthand for it. Like he might have been thinking of a turkey baster and was like, I don't know, syringe thing, but he knew what he was looking for, just as a reminder. I don't know. I really don't. Does seem a little suspicious though.
mm,
directing your attention to State's Exhibit 174.
So I'm pausing it again and showing State's Exhibit 174.
Yeah, first time I saw this guy's name, I thought it said K bitch, but it's like K Stitch.
Sure, you have a
Yeah.
chance to see that one. Can you see it?
Security
We're good? All right.
I'll try to blow it up a little bit.
We're not good now.
Low tolerance, funky. Neck, funky. 2 prior weekend, second update, pen, thinking, math, ass, sweet. Pen, sweet. Okay. Funky, toes. 632.
This is the kind of stuff that they're actually, you'd think,
Yeah.
stuff that doesn't really occur any longer. People don't write things down like they used to.
No.
Digital notes.
And now resuming the video.
This also is a photograph that was developed from the film that you obtained from Julie Jensen.
That's correct.
And can you read what that says? Can you read what that says?
Appears that it says low tolerance, maybe funky, neck. I'm not sure what the other one, funly or something along that line. 2 prior weekend.
It says funky, 2 prior weekend?
Does not mean anything to me.
Doesn't mean anything to you. And then underneath that, what does it say?
I'm sorry?
Underneath funky, 2 prior weekend, what does it say to that?
Which one are you referring to?
Okay, what's beneath the third line? What's in the fourth line there?
Is it funly, 2 prior weekend?
Funky? Is that funky?
Maybe funky.
And then under that?
Pen, sweet.
Second, right?
63102.
Well, underneath funky, 2 prior weekend, what does that say? Right here.
Second.
Second rate.
I believe it does say that.
And then beneath that?
It appears to say pen, sweet.
And then underneath that?
Thinking.
And underneath that?
I'm not sure what that word is.
Looks like a dollar
Underneath
sign.
that is dollar sign?
Is underneath, whatever that word is a symbol used for money.
And then underneath that, what does it say?
Mothers.
Mothers.
And I can't read what the second one is. Envious of me or envy of me.
Underneath that?
Maybe new.
Well, under that, does it say has something, everything that he wants? Or have?
Everything that he wants.
And underneath that?
Obviously, I'm not sure what that word would be.
Obviously successful, big producer.
Okay, successful, big producer, manager.
Maybe I can read that, move that a little bit to make it easier to read. Let's see. Is that easier to read than
Have own
Yeah,
branch.
because I'm looking down here and I'm thinking, gee, it's easier for me to read. Okay, here, let me pull it up here for you. And then what does it say under the word obviously?
Make it
Manager,
all look
have
easy.
own branches you put together, make it all look easy. And boys, with the line under that appears to be oils, BDE, NE, the initial DD, initial HI. With the star next to the initials MCD at 6.5, and the star again with the initials MCK.
And that didn't mean anything to you, did it?
Judge, this would be a proper opinion testimony. This witness.
He knows the answer.
Okay. In your estimation, did this information, what was depicted here, did you see how it was relevant to Julie's concerns?
Some of it, yes.
Okay, tell us what you thought was relevant to Julie's concerns.
Object, this is a proper opinion, Judge.
No, he's asking about his historical opinion as opposed to what he knows.
That's
I'm just
funny.
reading that.
As to what his reaction was.
That is funny.
I don't think it's
Yes. If anybody
I
brings
think-
either of those on a date, don't go on the date.
So at the time you looked at this, did you see anything that you thought might be relevant to Julie Jensen's concerns?
Maybe
You're into
the
that thing.
envious of me. Obviously successful, big producer, along with the put it all together, make it look easy. Oils and what the initials may have stood for.
Now, directing your attention to State's Exhibit 175.
So I'm pausing it again and displaying State's Exhibit 175.
What also strikes me as odd is she was the one that did all of the cooking.
And now resuming the video.
But for some reason, she wouldn't eat his cooking. Because, like, things don't add up on a lot of their testimony.
There's another photograph that was contained in the film that Julie Jensen gave to you, correct? And I would say you probably can't read those, so I'm trying to get a little bit closer to it. First of all, looking at this looks like a calendar page, correct?
That is correct.
From
Now, see, I think, and this is just, I could be completely off, but I think maybe she was a little wacky in the head. And I think she might have been she might have been trying to kill him off, but because she was just like, well, if I kill him off, then something bad, is going to happen to me. But if I make it look like he kills me off, because crazy people do crazy things, then maybe she was doing this to herself and did not expect to basically die from it, but just get really sick and then sort of blame it on him. I don't know, maybe it is that whole Gone Girl situation. You never know.
November 98.
That is correct.
Well, let's put it that way. Is there anything about Exhibit 175 that really stood out to you, or to your knowledge, Detective Rasper?
Not really.
Directing your attention to State's Exhibit 176.
I will now display State's Exhibit 176.
No foundation to manipulation, doesn't want you tire, idolized him, diarrhea in something, doesn't trust him, belittle, above, passive aggressive, minimize. Okay.
And now resuming the video.
And that's another photo that you recovered from the Julie Jensen's film, or the film Julie Jensen.
That's correct.
Seems like a light is. Just turn the light off.
Shiny pictures.
Can you, perhaps,
Shiny pictures.
move the focus, make it smaller.
Make it small.
No, it doesn't help.
Not a bad idea.
Those overhead projectors are
Can you read what that
horrible.
says?
No foundation to
Yeah.
maybe relevance, manipulation, doesn't want to be there, idolized him, drinking and sex, doesn't trust him, belittle, abusive, passive aggressive, and minimize.
And you didn't have any idea what that was reference to?
At that particular point, I thought it may be kind of comparing the good side to a bad side.
Directing your attention to State's Exhibit 177.
I will now display State's Exhibit 177.
Okay.
And now resuming the video.
Photograph. That again is a photograph that you recovered from the film that Julie Jensen provided to you. And only in there says October 1998, daily record of events, and time 8, it appears to be time 8:40. Is there anything else on there that was of any significance to you?
No.
Directing your attention to Exhibit 178.
I will now display State's Exhibit 178.
Shiny, happy people everywhere.
Like, oh, look, this page had a different time on it.
And now resuming the video.
Yeah.
Again, that's a photograph that you recovered from the film that Julie Jensen provided to you.
That is correct.
It shows the date of Friday, October 23rd, and the time 12:30.
That's correct.
Yeah, there was nothing there that would link up this particular photo, or the thing that's depicted in the photo, to Julie Jensen's suspicions, as near as you could tell. Was it?
No, there was nothing at that point.
And then directing your attention to State's Exhibit 179. This is a photo that you recovered from the film from Julie Jensen,
That is correct.
and it depicts the date of Tuesday, October 20th.
Can we show 179?
Yes, Judge.
Thank
I will now
Okay.
display.
I want to skip over this because this makes absolutely trash just giving dates. That is horrible. I'm going to sit here and go through this. Called them all. Okay. Call, fit, SIA. I mean, this is Columbus Day, Thanksgiving Day. Okay. They're trying to set some
And now
sort of
resuming the video.
timeline in.
Again, it appears to be pages out of a calendar, daily calendar, correct?
Correct.
Hello, Adriana.
Um,
How are you?
October
October
1998. Can you read the date?
Hey, Adriana, how you doing? Good to
You got
see
it?
you.
October 13th.
And
Well, that's the October of 1998.
and let's see. You don't have any idea what SIA means?
On the 21st, I believe the initials are SIA, and underneath it is written dinner.
And then on the 27th,
The
it's circled.
27th being circled with the word regroup.
And you don't know that either, did you?
No, I did not.
Nobody does.
First, there's a star.
That's correct.
You didn't know what that meant?
No, I do not.
Second, another star with the word Appleton underneath it. You know what that meant?
At that point, I was assuming that the stars meant that you would be an Appleton at that time.
So then on October 8th, the word, what
I
did I
believe it
do?
was Scott.
What did I do here?
On.
Star and SIA, correct?
Correct.
24th, there's a star and SIA, correct?
Correct.
Right?
Then the 29th, IDLYBAR. You know what that means?
No.
30th,
Door
Door
County.
County.
We don't know.
31st,
India.
Correct.
Indy.
And you know what that meant?
No, I did
That
not.
was S180.
Judge, I object to continuing questions about whether he knows what he meant.
I don't know. She's drawing little buttholes on her screen. That's what it looks like to me. I mean, if you look at it, that's what it looks like. It looks like a little starfish.
Sure.
Uh-huh. Looks to me like just places that he's maybe at conferences. Who knows? That's the problem with prosecution. They're trying to make out of nothing.
S21 is another photograph of another that was recovered from the film that Julie Jensen provided to you.
Okay. Cool.
There's Storberg 4.
Correct.
Pointless. Yeah, even the defense is just sitting there going, "Oh my God,
On the 5th,
this is
Thursday
painful."
the 5th, there's an asterisk, blueprint MGA.
Man, just man. I'll just draw a happy little butthole here.
30.
Maybe,
On the 6th,
maybe
there's
that's how she liked it.
asterisk,
Never
blueprint.
know.
Correct.
On the 7th, an asterisk, blueprint.
Correct.
18th.
Head hole.
I'm not doing that. I think machine's doing that.
Okay. Come on.
21st, SHW.
Correct.
27th. Looks like the word poor, doesn't it? Maybe not, I don't know. So,
I can't make it out.
on the 28th.
What's up, Darth?
And then laser, correct?
Correct.
Hey, how you doing, Darth? Good to see you. Yeah, I'll send you a link. I don't know if I have you on Twitter.
I can help you out with that.
Yeah, just
26th.
I'll help you. Check your Discord,
Correct?
That is correct.
Darth.
there you go.
On the 27th, the word poor appears, correct?
Okay.
Poor pool.
It might be cool. Maybe an L.
So I'll attempt to do that, but you're changing.
All right,
And then
we're
we'll,
going to stop it then.
Oh, thank God.
Please don't
'cause
talk about the case.
that was stupid
We'll
and
take
painful.
a good 10 minutes, okay? No problem.
All right. This guy's just looking at pictures. See, this is why I
Here's the
can
photo that
just
you
fly
covered in
through
the
a
film.
lot of this because some of it I
So
just
now I will display States
find
Exhibit 182.
completely pointless. Branch and Wade, Dawn Ring, married, telling me, don't think, going into work, quotes. Mystery, 1016. My story, 1016. Okay. Okay. See, that's a lot of that's just shorthand stuff right there.
Uh-huh. That's her own shorthand. She knows what she was writing down.
Now resuming
Right.
the video.
does that appear to be OILS, oils?
Correct.
And then underneath that DD,
Correct.
and under that MCD,
Correct.
and under that MCK,
Correct.
and under that BT,
Correct.
and under that BA,
Correct.
and under that HAL,
Correct.
and underneath that mystery.
And she was a
1016.
stockbroker
Correct.
too, so
And then go
or
to the top
worked
again.
with stocks, so maybe those are stock symbols.
That's backing up.
Sure.
VS away,
Correct.
and then the word dawn, DAUN,
Correct.
ring,
Correct.
married, telling me. I'm sorry, worried. Okay, thank you, counsel.
Yeah. Worried to be worried.
Telling me,
Well, and it's
correct?
it's one of those crazy things where you're sitting there going, you've got these silly fools like this that are leaving shorthand to themselves, taking pictures of it. It could mean anything, or it could mean absolutely nothing. But I will say one thing for certain is you can never be mistaken to have Darth Hideous join you in your channel.
Hey, to quote my man Elon Musk, let that sink in.
There you go. Let it sink
What
in. Let
it
it
is.
sink in deep.
What it is, my lads.
How's it going? Good to see you, Darth.
Oh man.
Hey, we got a crow out there. Caw.
Okay, cat. Oh, tadpole. Do biology and less screaming. I didn't diss Elon. I quoted Elon. I said, "Let that sink in."
Let it sink in. Just
Yeah.
nice and
So your thought on the whole stock thing or whatever, I kind of threw a couple of those in real quick, and each one of those actually does come up with a particular stock. Like DD was DuPont, McDonald's, there's MCK was actually something. That's an interesting thought, really, when it comes down to it. Most likely that's what that was.
All right, now imagine this, that she's watching the news, she's taking down notes on things that she might be interested in, and she's taking notes down about particular people that, say, for example, she's taking down a note that's saying, this guy for DuPont, you don't think something, maybe he's married, or at least that's what it's telling me. Maybe there's something bad going on with their marriage. Maybe he's going to be selling off stocks. Maybe there's divorces, just little insider information of news that she might be watching. That's why she's notating this stuff down. I mean, it's an interesting thought. Doesn't mean that's what was happening, but it
is a very interesting thought. And like I said, I took a couple of those and threw those in there. McKees Corporation is MCK. Yeah, I'm just like, huh.
Well,
it did exist. It did exist back in '98 or whatever. So it's like when you actually look at a bunch of them, you start looking into them, they get that all did exist.
Yeah.
All existed.
And
it's crazy.
Don't think it's going to work.
I love thought experiments, allegedly in Minecraft.
Quotes, correct.
And that was from October 28th.
Right? I'm experimentally a thought. Called THOT. Just kidding.
THOT, yeah, thought experiments. That's what I just said, right?
All right, so we got another one coming up here.
I'm not gonna lie, tadpole screaming in my ear is not vibe.
I think
Oh, I can't do it.
Blueprint.
You can do whatever you want.
Damn, that's loud.
Need to fix it.
Give him the microphone and let him not yell. How about
that? Did they really say that thought? Well, sometimes I thought so, but but yeah, I mean, you're seeing an I thing, MCK, MCD. Big question is big issues like a blueprint. Is this going to work for you? Something about Brookfield. And of course, if you know that particular area, that's probably a number of a place. If I'm not mistaken, he was also working in stocks at this point in time. So maybe she's just notating stuff down here. Or is this his notebook? Maybe this is his notebook and he's planning stock trades.
Well, I don't see 10% set aside for the big guy, so this must be someone else's notebook.
Yeah, it must be.
I mean, you don't. Tadpole, calm down, my dude.
Stop.
Please, my dude, calm down. You're good. It's not necessary.
Okay. It's okay.
Now I see how Frogget got to such a peaceful tone of voice.
And now resuming the video.
This exhibit, I'm sorry, I remember exhibit 183. Exhibit 183.
Does anybody else know the story of Bob Ross?
Yes, correct.
I really do. Here's the interesting one. 794-1000. Horizon Financial Management.
Ooh.
Uh-huh.
You know, so
Yes.
you know,
No, that's I believe that's where he worked.
sure.
So and I think maybe she's taking pictures of of his like order books, like stuff that he's going to be ordering. Now earlier on there was someone that she was working with, or that he was working with, that basically he told the story of killing his wife or something like that. And so he actually got busted for like some doing some illegal crap with stocks, to the point where he can't work in that field anymore. He's actually working in real estate now. So just, these guys all some shady bastards.
Friday, October 30th, right?
That's correct.
It reads I thing,
Correct.
MCK,
Correct.
MCD,
Correct.
big questions, big issues,
Correct.
blueprint.
That's
Is this going to work for you?
right.
Correct.
Then field in a number. Correct. And then what's this? Her.
Correct.
And then direct your attention to States Exhibit 184.
Brookfield.
I'm now going to display States Exhibit 184.
Brookfield Financial Advisors out of Brookfield, Wisconsin.
Yep, that's where he was. That's where this took place, is in Kenosha.
Is Wisconsin the worst place in the world? Yes,
Yes,
or
can be.
why?
Just don't cross state lines.
Yeah, so these,
Not
if I'm
ever
not
cross state
mistaken,
lines.
are all
Wisconsin.
probably stocks. And Blueprint was that Blueprint. Didn't they have? That's where their big meeting was for this thing called like Blueprint or something like that. That's what it was, Blueprint. So Blueprint was where that guy was talking about the where he said that he was talking about him killing off his wife. It's a big get together. So I think this is probably his. It's got to be.
Am I wrong, Frogget?
Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
And then
When we did that stream 3 days ago, and Crystal was on, her little mini Frogget was running around screaming just as loud as yours was.
Yeah,
Am I wrong about that? Yeah, exactly. She was like, "How?" And I'm like, "Well, I mean, were you not there?" I was there.
Because we were teasing about actually doing kids shows, because hers was being loud, mine was being loud.
Yeah, make a just nothing but kids just having fun. Oh man, that would be hilarious.
She really wasn't worse. She really wasn't better. Kids are just kids. Like, that's what they do.
Yeah.
I am not a parent. I don't have children of my own, and I appreciate everyone else's kids for that very reason. Like, I'm the one you never want to lend your kids to, because they're gonna come home spoiled and terrible because, well, I got nothing better to do.
And I am with you so much on that, Darth, because I don't have kids either, and it's just one of those things where, as an uncle, and I have older and younger nieces and nephews that go everywhere from 2 years old to like 19. So I've seen them at all stages, and the best part about being an uncle is I can always give them back.
Oh yes, that's the best part. I am an uncle to 11 children.
Yeah, same.
And both of my younger sisters have had 0 kids apiece. My younger brother actually went out and pontificated the family lineage. to the point where it's almost disrespectful at this point. Like, how do you have 11 children by 4 different women? Come on now. Like, let's not get this one twisted up.
Well, we know what that is. That is the
Mm.
same thing that happened in Idiocracy.
I mean, we do know what that is. We just don't want to tell them about themselves. That's the unfortunate part of it, because I have this problem with little Sean. Like, could you please just get spayed or neutered at this point? The universe doesn't need more little yous running around. Your kids actually need to talk to Uncle fucking B about what the reality of the universe is, because someone has to tell them.
I have thoughts.
You have thoughts?
PDR,
I mean,
GLM, PE, and is that SL?
Did you say PDR?
Guys are so great.
I was at PDR.
Maybe
PD, what did I miss? Did I hear wrong?
I maybe I said PDR. I don't know. I'm trying to read it, and I thought it said PDR, so maybe that's what I said.
Doesn't look like PDR.
It wasn't.
there is a book,
Was it like you?
Mandors.
Yeah, maybe an E.
Go ahead. What's the book?
Go the fuck to sleep. It's narrated by Samuel L. Jackson, and I have
so
re-narrated it over time, but
Yes, that is a great
yes.
one. I've heard that.
But Sam Jackson actually does it way better than I ever could. So
Yes.
I just play it now at this point. It's just like, please go the fuck to sleep.
Okay. GLM.
Correct.
NE.
Correct.
SL. Or NE or WE. Looks like some one of those things. And then SL, so like B.
Looks like B.
And then the word oils, there's DD,
Correct.
HI,
Correct.
MCD, MCK,
Correct.
BT, BA.
Correct.
And then, does it say daily pen shop?
Good.
Does it look like to you?
I'm not sure what the second word is.
And the number underneath is 414-276-8900.
That's correct.
Underneath that says LeGrand 185.
Correct.
Did you find out what that number was for?
Officer Cosman, did you find out what that number was for?
No.
Here, I'll share this with you because this is pretty funny. I know that you're going to find this funny. This is actually a real book, and we did this as a white elephant one year. Wait a second. And it actually has really good recipes in there.
I mean, is this Futanari cookbook?
No.
It seems a little Futanari cookbook to me, like
healthy chicken recipes with balls.
With balls.
That's all it is. Yeah.
That's definitely Futanari cookbook, like 100% status.
Exactly. No,
it's always balls. Like, don't ever get that twisted.
Right? If you're saying no balls, there's something wrong with you.
Healthy recipes with balls.
With balls.
Could be matzo balls, could be anything.
I mean, could be Swedish meatballs, but I doubt it.
Yeah, not with chicken. But
no.
Yeah, that's actually it was a really good white elephant gift to give for Christmas. And
I mean, 50 healthy ways to eat cock.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
Delicious rooster. YouTube, you alleged chomosexuals. You
Crystal, don't lose points.
You're the worst people that ever did be the worst people that ever was. I'm sorry, I'm trying to be polite to the YouTube overlords. At the same time,
I'm not really
can't
worried
take
about
the fuck.
They ain't coming after me.
And then
I'm a nobody.
Yet
there's a market from
Yet
Christmas chicken doesn't really have balls. Since when?
You
What
know
were
who
those chicken
thought
nuggets
he
that I had
was
for lunch?
small enough to fly under the radar? My man Frogget right here. He
One
thought he was
question,
small
and
enough
then a dash.
to fly under the radar. How many strikes you got, Frogget?
That is true.
9?
How many what?
How many
How many
strikes have
times?
you had on your YouTube channel since you started it? I think the number's 9 or 10.
It's too many.
Way too fucking many. Like, don't tell me you're not worried about it, because then the strikes are gonna come and you're gonna be like, oh, now I'm worried about it. It's like, well, I mean,
No, I look every day to see if I got struck again. You know, it's like, am I good still? Yep. Okay, I'm still in good standing.
So what
Sweet.
exactly was it that you did that got you struck?
he kept talking about way too many things, all the things that YouTube wanted to suppress during a certain election cycle and a certain news media cycle.
3-4 times for election.
So it's a little bit of the
there were
election
2 or 3
stuff, a little
times
bit
of
of the cough
medical.
stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it was all 2020. That all
Okay.
of 2020 got Frog struck so many times.
Oh,
2020.
geez.
What are you talking about?
Hmm.
Only been doing this for
2021, essentially, like it
Oh.
was all backlash from the events of 2020 that got you struck all throughout 2021, right?
Well, 2022.
Yeah, I mean, but you started getting struck in 2021, like the
Yeah,
election,
very first strike, very first
fucking,
episode, medical disinformation.
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, see, I missed out on all of that because I was working.
It would have been December 2021, December 15th. Myself and American Shirts. Speaking of Coof, and yeah,
yep,
getting the channel yeeted off the first day. So
It's so crazy. It is so crazy. I never understood why people were getting outed for that. Never did.
Well, they had this narrative that they wanted to try to sell. They thought if they just suppressed everybody everywhere from speaking, that they could get it. And they did. They managed to shove it through right down everybody's throats. Nobody did a fucking thing about it. Like in reality, like there were people who exposed it, but it didn't stop them. So, I mean, like people like Frogget were basically placed upon the altar of sacrifice for the narrative and the message. And then when they realized, like, oh shit, there are still more and more and more people like Frogget out there, well, I guess we'll bring the ones that we murdered on the altar of the narrative
really
message.
Really, when you
back to
actually
life.
think about it and you get down deep into it, you actually start thinking,
Mhm.
I got my stuff back. There's people, B. Hizzy, Doug Tenaple, Alice Amaro. There's several people that were right around the same time as Nick Ricada was doing.
I mean,
election
Alison
stuff or whatever,
Morrow is
that
one
all
of my
got heated.
subscriptions, and she's been back around like
No,
before
right.
you
Some of
came
them
back.
have kind of been able to, like Doug Tenaple had like several different channels that he created.
Yeah, Doug Naples got redundancies, correct? Yeah.
But then you got like CanCon and B. Hizzy, who have never been able to make themselves back on YouTube.
Yes. But
they're everywhere
and
else.
at that point, like I said, if they booted me off this platform, I would just switch over to being straight up on Rumble. I mean, I've already got a channel over there. Everything that comes off of this gets streamed over to that. I just need to figure out how to get it where it'll live stream. Everybody says that from what I understand is you've got to have a key in there. You've got to do it like
I'll help you. I'll help you.
And all that stuff. So
that would be really. I'll show you how to do that. It's not. It's less difficult than people make it sound.
Very cool. Well, how about this? After maybe later on today or something like that, we do like just a off stream kind of thing.
Yeah, right. When we go to the back room or whatever, we can sit there. And
cool.
How to get that done, because it is, like I said, it's not as hard as people make it sound.
That sounds very cool.
Especially once you start doing it. You do it once, twice, whatever. It's super quick and easy.
Very cool, because it would be neat to stream it at the same time. just to get it all set up in case this one gets booted. I
I
don't.
mean, I hate to say this, but most of the people who bitch about the streaming compatibility with Rumble are lazy fucking boomers who don't want to do any sort of work to set their shit up. Like this is facts. This is facts.
Right.
True.
It's the ones that are like, oh my god, I got to do an extra step to get this to work. It's not that hard.
If it's not next.
I mean, they give you the stream key. You plug it into your StreamYard so that StreamYard knows where to send
under
the
a custom
data.
RTP. Right.
There you go. That's like that's that fucking difficult. Like back in the 90s when we didn't have like plug and play tech, you had to type everything into everything to do anything. Like, and these boomers, the internet's become too easy. And we've let too many idiots in. We need to make the internet difficult again so that all these people who don't belong here fuck off. All of them. Like we need you not. Go away. But I mean that's just one man's opinion allegedly.
Yeah. Well, and this is like I said, this is all for entertainment. My entertainment.
This is not medical, legal, or financial advice. Please consult your local hot dog stand vendor.
Read your disclaimer. You'll have to show me how to do that.
I mean, the disclaimer is the disclaimer. It comes as it comes. I'm not a pizza man.
You usually have the tendency to, something similar to what Doctor said. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not going to give you advice. Do what's best for you, and see your doctor.
Yeah.
Please consult your local pizza delivery driver or your local theologist. I'm not that guy.
No, I'm just a straight up idiot that likes to talk shit on the internet. That's it.
Random, yes. Randomly talking trash online.
Yeah, it might be that I do a
I missed 420.
A court thing, or I might just randomly read recipes. Who knows what I might end up doing from day to day.
I mean, if we don't get the fish stew recipe, I'm gonna have a problem with you at the end of the day.
Oh, that fish stew recipe is so awesome.
Yes, and if we don't get it, I'm gonna have a problem with you at the end of the day. Just know that. Like, I know it's not winning in the poll right now, but whatever is winning in the poll needs to sit down and take a step back.
I mean, I'm one of the 10% that said biscuit chili. So as far as that goes,
the brisket chili, that is one of my favorite dishes. It's so tasty.
I'm of the 30% that said fish stew. Mississippi pot roast is still winning, but we're gonna get there. We're going to get there.
The Mississippi pot roast is what I'm making today. So
I give all the just read one for fuck's sake votes to the fish stew. So we're at 50% and Mississippi pot roast is at 40%. No unfortunate people with the biscuit chili on 10%.
That's community 20%. Every single one of them goes up 20%.
Yeah.
Biscuit chili it has just as much right as being red than any other.
Well,
no, definitely.
And what may happen is I may just read them in order as they are leaderboards. So
I mean, there should be nothing actually restraining you from reading all of them because the world needs that information, especially the fish stew.
Oh, yes,
I love me a good stew.
Yes, the fish stew is. My wife and I will. Well, I'll make the stew, and we'll have that like 2 nights, not back to back, but we'll have it for 2 nights out of one fish stew.
Right.
I gotta step away for a second. I'll be right back.
Cool.
Meanwhile, I'll make a quadruple batch of fish stew and eat it all week long. I don't even care.
I wouldn't even suggest it because it does. It literally.
Oh, it doesn't keep. It doesn't reheat good.
It'll keep for a couple of days, but it is so quick and easy to make that
You can just do it.
yes.
But you have to have fish to do it. That's the problem. Is I don't keep fish around.
I'll even tell you how to do that one. That's the best part about it is the fish. Here we go.
And an E and a dash. Correct?
Correct.
And then underneath that, funky tolerance.
Correct.
And underneath that, fishing.
Correct.
And underneath that, evening blueprint.
Correct.
And underneath that, blueprint, Saturday/8.
Correct.
Sunday. Sunday. I'm sorry. And underneath that, looks like dawn, D-A-U-N, correct?
Was a line through it, correct?
And then the word new with a line through it?
Because now, W.
Okay.
No.
And then
Door County,
with a line through it.
with a line through it, correct?
And then underneath that,
Appreciate
appropriate verbiage.
Correct.
Yeah, this guy isn't given anything.
Directing your attention to States Exhibit 185.
I will now display States Exhibit 185.
Yeah, this just all looks like stock trades. Or he's looking to buy some land.
I mean, you've clearly never seen anyone take notes on anything because that looks like any notes on anything.
Yeah.
It could be anything like
25 acres equals 1,000 square feet or foot square.
Yeah.
A fifth of a mile each ride.
Oh, these are words like
0.5
2.5 acre. Yeah, these are words. You're doing too much now. Yep. 25. Yep. You're doing way too much.
And now returning to the video.
That's
And the word
okay.
1/5 mile each. All
Didn't they just reopen this case?
Yeah, this is the reopened part of it.
Oh, this is the reopening of this?
Yeah, this is day 3. This is what happened on Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th.
I'm in a worse position because everybody's correcting me. So.
Or like that was something else.
So you noticed the judge, right?
Question about
Huh?
The judge from Kyle Rittenhouse.
Oh, Schroeder?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
Schroeder.
And guess who's in this courtroom?
Oh, yeah, I saw a photo chat in the courtroom yesterday
Yeah.
on your
Okay.
stream.
okay, thanks.
And I was like, oh, yeah, that's Nate DeBruin right there. Like,
Now bring your attention to States Exhibit 186. And that's another.
So I will now display States
And of course, the prosecutor in this one is the same prosecutor 25 years later. It's like, dude, you never moved up, did you? He's just in the same spot.
those who can do, those who can't teach, those who never will work for the government, and they never move up.
Nope.
They get to their little space and they're comfortable and they never advance beyond. And this is an inherent problem with government is it attracts the type of people that never advance.
Right. And if you're advancing anything, that means you're working harder than the guy next to you, and they do not appreciate that because it makes them look like they're invaluable. So it's just a matter of who can go the slowest. Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah, and that's why the wheels of government churn at
a snail's pace,
at incomprehensibly slow pace. Yes. At least we agree on a lot, actually.
Oh, I agree with you on quite a bit, Darth. Sometimes I just go off on wild tangents, and all you have to do is just tell me to shut the hell up. It doesn't offend me in any way.
Same. Because I will go off on shit like our wonderful system and everything it's designed to do.
Our system, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And
I mean, people are like, the system is broken. I'm like, no. The
it's
system
working
is working
exactly
as
the way-
intended. This is
Exactly.
the intent of the system.
Yes.
It's the people who design the system that are broken, and they need to be abolished.
removed
And-
from those positions.
Yes, and a new system needs to be put in place. And might I start with the complete abolishment of the federal system? And I'll go ahead and, because I've had this discussion with a couple of people now, I'll wait for somebody to make a good substantive argument about what we need the federal government for
I can make
in 2022.
I can make a good reason for having our government. There is an absolutely really good reason. The only
look
thing
here.
that I can think of that our federal government is good for is they make really great punching bags.
Okay, so you don't actually have a really good reason at all. You just have a meme trope.
Exactly.
Okay, that's it. That's it. Like,
That's it. That's
I
it. Just
mean, we live in the Twitter era. Like, oh, they can call a standing army. Bitch, I can put out a tweet and call a standing army if I had one at my disposal. Like, if all the state militias came together and were like, oh, we're going to go fight this war, then we are. If Michigan, Texas, California, Nevada, New York, they all tell you to fuck off and keep your bullshit to yourself, maybe you should listen to them. Like, especially if Florida says like, no, we're not doing this.
yeah, I mean, that just it's a broken system. We all know it's broken.
Yep.
And the problem is getting it fixed is near to impossible because it is so broken.
I
And
mean, my man Maynard James Keenan actually did say it best. The only way to fix it is to flush it all away.
that is about true. That is about
And
true.
and at this point, yeah, we're so entrenched in shit. Like, you're gonna have to flush this toilet at some point because the
Yeah.
shit's just way too overflowing, and you're not going to fundamentally fix it from the inside. Just like every other great empire in history, from Rome to Greece to Persia, the Chinese, the Soviet Union, the Nazis, like every great expansive empire that conquered any sort of land over time fell.
Yeah.
All of them fell.
Because they're
We're
trying
next.
to they're trying to build up to it's like massive expansion. Think about Detroit.
Yeah.
What did Detroit look like back in the
Oh,
in
dear
the
God.
50s? Back in the
It was
50s.
it was one of the most beautiful places in America
Yes.
back in the 50s. Yes.
Yeah, and they expanded, and
Mhm.
people moved there, and whenever things started not being able to, it just got
Sustain.
sustain. It
Yeah.
couldn't
Yeah.
sustain, and it started falling apart. And instead of letting it fall apart, they threw money at it to try to keep the same system in place. But
Prop it up. Prop it up.
it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. Let it fall. Let it crush as quickly as possible, as fast as
As
it
somebody
can.
as
Let it
somebody
crush.
who was born into that system, I actually stepped back just soon enough to watch the whole shit collapse in on itself. And now they're trying to rebuild and all this. And
Yeah.
Detroit today is not Detroit 20 years ago. Like, if you walked through a Warren neighborhood 20 years ago, you're gonna want to have a Glock somewhere on your body, like at least some sort of like
And preferably not
defensive weapon.
behind you.
Yeah,
Preferably
but
not behind you.
today you can walk through some Detroit neighborhoods, especially like even in the worst parts of Warren, Michigan. It's a bombed out, burnt out shithole. Most of the people there aren't gonna fuck with you, but most of the people who would have fucked with you have either gone to prison or moved on, and we're like, yeah, they're
Gone to other
mostly in,
cities.
yeah, they're mostly in Southside Chicago now. Oddly enough.
Or they just drive to Wisconsin and drive through a crowd. Yeah. Well, we won't go into Daryl Brooks, but
I mean,
let's finish this thing out today.
Proper Daryl Brooks Esquire, thank you. He's my attorney if I ever get charged with second degree murder in Wisconsin. Like, I'm hiring Brooks and Associates, 100%.
They'll keep you running. Keep
yeah.
you confused.
Math boy fly.
Yeah, this is like completely useless stuff. Cabin 26 by 24, 624. He looks like he's looking at property.
I love the header on that, big question / big issues, and then he's trying to do math underneath that.
Photograph that was recovered from the film. Julie and Julie Jensen, correct?
That is correct.
You see the email address at homes.com?
Which one?
There's email
And maybe
addresses that are at the very
questions
bottom of that
slash-
page.
Yep. WisconsinLogHomes.com.
And now resuming the video.
Photograph that was recovered from film that you obtained from Julie Jensen, correct?
That is
Big
correct.
questions. Big issues.
Wilderness.
Big questions. Big questions.
Are you happy?
What's happening?
Correct.
Why Chase the Funky?
Correct.
Daisy, you got to talk to Montegraph about
Is
melons.
the
Yeah,
banter
right.
going to work?
This
for
is
you?
how melons work.
Really?
Like,
Correct.
What? Is that what that says?
Yes.
And that sound is
Aspirin
so
over the weekend.
annoying where somebody gets their cell phone too close to the mic cable.
the microphone and it just feeds all the way back.
Yep. It's like now there's a really interesting thing that I found out whenever I first started playing guitar. And this is before I started playing bass guitar, is that you can take your cell phone and you can hold it up to the actual pickup and you can get the music to play through your instrument.
Hmm. You can also use that to create your own distortion pedal for cheap.
Yep.
Because it's going to do exactly that. It's going to distort the fuck out of everything.
Go,
Aspirin over
Um,
the weekend.
what brand of bass do you play? I have to ask.
Let's see. I've got a Ernie Ball Music Man. I've got a Kramer Fretless. I've got a Maestro and an Epiphone.
Yeah, see, I was started on the 71 Epiphone myself and never did get beyond it, but God, it's so much fun to play.
Oh, absolutely. Fretless was a lot easier than I thought it would be to learn to play.
I mean, your fingers still go in the same places. Like, if you know where the frets are, then the fretless will be just fine because your fingers still go in the same spots. It's much cleaner. It's much cleaner, and you don't have that like back feed if you don't have the positioning of your fingers perfectly right.
Well, and you can also just move it a little bit if it's not quite right.
Right.
But yeah,
But you don't get that back feed because with frets, like if you're not right on it, you're getting all types of fucking feedback, and you just don't want it. Yep. Yep. That right there.
Yes.
I hate that sound.
Yeah, when my wife was both those, I think before we got married, we were in I think it was Charleston. Yeah, it was before we got married because we were in Charleston, and we were wandering around looking for venues where we were going to get married, and so we walk into this music store. I was like, oh, I want to go check this place out. It looks pretty cool. And we walk in there and I'm checking things out. I was like, oh, cool. And so she finds an upright bass. She goes, I bet you can't play this. And I sit down and I just start ripping into it. And of course, the whole music store stops and they're looking.
A freestanding, like acoustic upright bass.
Yeah.
Like that you would play with a bow normally.
They call it a doghouse bass. It looks a lot like a cello, but much bigger.
Yeah, it's much bigger, yes. But you would still play that bass with a bow like a cello, traditionally speaking.
You could. But traditionally, no, you wouldn't because it was. Yeah, it's its own instrument. Because
I've seen people play them both. I've seen people play the upright bass and I've seen them play it with a pluck and with a bow, and it works both ways.
Yeah, it does. I mean, but the upright bass, just because of the size of it is, it's so it's got so much volume in there that you can get some of the deeper tones and a lot more volume out of it whenever you're actually plucking it because it works well with the drums.
Oh yeah,
it's such a beautiful instrument, but. She asked me, she goes, should I get one of those for you? And I was like, if you feel like spending, $25,000 on an upright bass.
The answer is no. The answer is no. Like
I was like, personally, I'd just rather have a pretty decent car.
I was super happy to be able to play with this one but I don't need one of these. Like, if you can build one of these for me, one of the great things that I had in my life is my Opa, my father's father. He was he made mandolins. That was his hobby after he retired. He handcrafted mandolins. He made all types of other like stringed instruments, including the harp that I have is handmade by my
very
Opa. And I did actually have a chance to play the upright bass that he made just because he could make one. Yeah, I said Opa.
Opa.
My German grandfather, my Opa.
Well, and if you were in Tanzania, it would be
Yeah.
Babu.
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 Yes.
Yeah, I did say that, Adriana.
The only reason I know that is because my what would it be, sister-in-law, in a sense,
Mine Opa.
and her, she's from Tanzania.
Oh well, that's funny that Adriana says that it's Dutch for grandfather because it's also German for grandfather as well. Oh, mein Opa is very same in Dutch and German, and I am half Dutch, half German. Light skinned African fellow.
I am just a mutt. I am an absolute mutt. I've got some Slavic. I've got some German. I've got. Yeah, I don't know. My family tree is so twisted. But
Your family tree is a bush, not to be confused with George W. or George H.W.
Even worse than that, I've got family that's in that was from the Appalachian Mountains, as far as they were straight up hillbillies, that moved,
Hickorybilly Hill folk.
Yeah, we're talking about up on the top of the mountain, not down in the valley, but up on the top of the mountain. Yeah, like there's one person in my family that did tracing like way back. So like that part of it was my grandmother's on my mother's side. Her family, they kept really close track of that. But anyhow, let's get back to this guy and him knocking his wife off to make room for the new lady.
What, how, why? And then Joe, it will be on your desk when you get
back, or should
or something.
Should I drop off
activity? Correct.
Okay. Correct. Silly.
Well,
yeah, it's not making a whole lot of sense. They really are just going through a whole bunch of absolute silly crap. Explorer, font, timer, new Roman courier. Okay, those are just types of print that they're looking for. Windows.
Okay. And it's November 1998. Daily record of events. Correct.
Correct.
Yep.
Ed. Explorer.
Explorer.
Okay.
New. Correct. Font. Inverted windows.
God, they read worse than I do.
Yeah.
Correct.
I mean, they can't read. That's why they work in government.
All right. So it looks like puked on something. Right. Wait, return.
Something about Cavassier?
Well, it looks like, he's writing down some more stock stuff, and then Tom puked on something.
Puked on faggot. I think. My bad. I didn't even say that.
Could be yogurt. I don't know.
Yogurt? I can't read what that says. Puked on carpet. There we go. Carpet.
Oh, okay. Is it a possibility she was poisoning him?
Oh, unfortunate if that's the case.
And then figured that it wasn't going to work. Maybe she was poisoning him earlier on, and maybe that's why he was like doing all the searches about different poisons.
This is the one that was poisoned with antifreeze, right?
Yeah, supposedly he poisoned his wife with Fanny Freeze, okay, with antifreeze, and
Yes.
and she
Ethylene glycol is the actual toxin in antifreeze, right? Like that's the main ingredient.
Well,
The good old
it's
ethylene glycol poisoning.
it's one of the ingredients in
Yeah.
antifreeze. So there's
But if
quite a
you
bit
get
more in there.
poisoned with antifreeze, like you're gonna get ethylene glycol poisoning,
Yeah, I mean,
almost guaranteed.
yes, but
Okay.
you can also get ethylene glycol in its true state, which is an
Oh yeah.
odorless, colorless, tasteless
Of
liquid.
course.
But like ethylene glycol, it's going to have, like in antifreeze, it actually has a really sweet smell and a sweet taste to
Yes.
it. And that's why they recommend, if you have an antifreeze leak, do
Yeah.
not leave. You don't want to have one of those
Well,
because your
yeah,
pets
because your
can
pets,
eat it
yes,
and kill them.
we'll go lick that puddle without
Yep.
question,
So
and then they will die because
yes,
they cannot handle the ethylene glycol poisoning. They can't do it. Like I got a truck that leaks a little bit of coolant in my driveway, and I have to make sure that there's always something down to absorb that.
yeah,
Because
Now returning to the video.
the dogs will immediately go right straight for it.
Yeah.
Pour some kitty litter on it, pour some sand on it. It's all gonna be fine, but yeah, don't leave that shit just sitting.
no, not at all.
Nope.
Correct. And underneath that, MRK.
MRK, correct.
Across from there says Tom.
Correct.
And underneath that says Putin carpet over weekend.
Okay, they're all
Attention to 188 is a photograph that we were talking about this when we broke. And
yeah, okay. They
That's
took a break.
Fucked on carpet,
Putin carpet.
over weekend. Looks like got into it with her tonight. It cleaned.
Or did it say got
Or-
into it weather to get it clean?
Got into it weather tonight. It looks like tonight.
Again, we
Bloomberg
don't know.
appears to say cage and wood panels.
I will display exhibit 189.
Okay. Right, return module chairs aren't right. Okay, so he wanted the chairs returned. Called at 1:30, no answer. Finally, died. Couldn't wipe. He woke up
November 1988 daily record of events.
groggy.
And can you read what that says?
Looks like
And then
Galleria, 2154. St. Louis Galleria, 9581.
That's an order.
Correct?
and then it says, what does it say, cached or cached until 1:30? Is that what it says?
It appears that.
Starting at 11?
Correct, no answer?
I'll just say called. Called till 1:30. Is that what it is? Called till 1:30.
Okay.
Wait, does it say underneath that?
And I'm wondering if they're just doing this to sort of get him to say, that's not what it says, you dummies.
I mean, I was in that position once very recently in time frame where a certain NASCAR driver by the name of Brandon Brown won a race, and while he was doing his speech for his victory lap, the entire crowd was chanting a certain phrase.
Oh, yeah.
And then the NBC reporter, being as daft as she was, and I say daft very respectfully, I think she was,
let's go.
let's go, Brandon. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, I'm pretty sure. If I'd have had
Sure,
the
that's not what
microphone,
was being said.
if I'd have had the microphone at that time and said, "You hear the crowd? They say, let's go, Brandon." I would have been like, I'm pretty sure they said fuck Joe Biden, and then handed her the microphone back and left at that exact moment, and I would have broke the internet. But being the only other Brandon in the room, let's go, Brandon.
Yeah.
Where are we going? What's up?
What's going on?
Do I have to put pants on for this?
Well, gentlemen, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave it right here for right now.
Yeah.
because I do have my wife hollering at me
Oh.
saying she needs me to make some wonderful decisions. So what's going to happen is I'm gonna close out the stream, and I will be streaming probably about 7 o'clock tonight.
Can
And
I ask you a favor?
I will be giving out those recipes at that time.
When you go make wonderful decisions, grab your wife across the side of her head, kiss her right on the forehead,
Oh, absolutely.
and tell her you love her. Like,
I always love my wife. She is the
I'm
best.
not saying you don't. I'm just saying do this thing. Grab her by the side of both her ears, kiss her on the forehead, and tell her you love her. Don't tell her I said to do that. Just do it, and it'll be fine. It'll all be good.
Don't get smacked.
She does like to keep me.
Definitely do not mention me.
No, I won't be mentioning anybody.
Thank God.
I'm not that crazy.
Divinity's got her scissors out.
So as far as that goes, 7 o'clock time or whatever, I will be sleeping. You'll be sleeping and getting ready for my my job for the night. So
okay, that's cool.
I'm guessing that's why I wasn't catching any of your other links. Is I was actually probably sleeping, getting ready to go to work.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I was like, so is there any particular days that you're off?
Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays.
Tuesdays, Wednesdays.
But then I run my own stuff all day.
Oh, absolutely.
Do night shows, so then you kind of.
Well,
I mean, if you jump in the mix on a Fargate daytime stream, which I have been known to do apparently, you're in for a whole new universe of, oh, how the hell did we get here?
He's joined us a couple times, so as far as that goes,
yeah,
it's unheard of him to actually do so again. So.
Yeah, it's not improper. Like, more Shizzy was nuts on the Fargate streams, more Darth Hideous on the Fargate streams. Like, let's keep this vibe going.
Yeah, very
In
cool.
2023, we're gonna make a new panel.
Well, I think the ladies would like a nude panel.
A nude panel?
Is that what you said?
I mean, they do love them some spaghetti and some top ramen. So all the nudes.
All the nudes.
For all the ladies.
Adriana's like, let's vibe.
Oh, Divinity said she's gonna need to hang up on these two. Yeah, I mean, she's not wrong.
No, she's not wrong at all.
Wait,
not
what?
wrong at all.
we won't.
What?
Me and Frog won't shut up if you give us the chance not to.
Oh,
you guys are gonna do we're gonna do a calendar now. Oh my.
What? Wait. Hold on.
So how does that feel, Divinity?
I mean,
that feel good.
I don't like any of this vibe anymore.
No, I just gave something to Divinity.
Oh, well, if she doesn't stab you in the fucking neck with it, you're probably lucky.
Well, I don't think Divinity would stab me in the neck.
You really don't ever want to fucking underestimate that one. Like, that's not the one to underestimate, because I have seen the trail of fucking dead people she's left in her wake. You just don't want to. I mean,
but see, I wouldn't do anything to Divinity to make her want to stab me in the neck. That's the beauty of it.
That's what Kurt said. That's what Farron said. That's what all these dead people who are lying behind Divinity said. But spoiler warning.
Hey,
they're all dead too, so be careful what you wish for.
Well, and I've already said that, with Divinity, she's really just her stuff is hilarious.
I know.
She said, well, I could always, make a little clip on you, and I'm like, go ahead, I don't care.
Oh,
my stuff is open. I'm not that kind of guy that's gonna, sit there and copyright something.
Please clip all of this, because This is promotional content.
Well, I have got no problem with Divinity at all.
Yeah.
I've seen her stuff and I find it hilarious, and if
Same.
she did something about mine, I would find it just as funny. She could probably cut out the portion where I was reading the recipe, which was Crystal's recipe.
She's going to end up clipping you. I'm 100% certain of that. Just because you have that presence that actually calls for, like, scissor this out. This is gonna be the thing, and you're probably gonna get famous. I'm not gonna lie. Like, this one makes fucking. She's a kingmaker,
Yeah,
so to speak.
that's what I'm saying. I'm happy with
Yeah.
what I do, and I have no shame.
Oh, I could be hot. Some like it hot. So let's
Some
turn up the
like
heat
it.
till we fry. Ah, shit. Blah, blah, blah. Words are hard. I hate the English language.
the English language, one of the most difficult to learn. But once you
I could be hot. I just need to stop singing into the mic. So, is that your polite way of telling me I need to shut the fuck up? Because come down through there with me.
When you sing, you don't need to put it in your throat. You can hold them.
I mean, I don't actually. Okay. I'm wearing a headset, and I don't actually move the microphone at any point in time.
Sure.
I just, when I sing, I tend to get into it, so I maybe put a little bit too much emphasis into the shit, and it's like, oh, you grabbed the fucking microphone and shoved it down. No, I just elevated my voice another 10 decibels, and it's a problem. It's a whole fucking problem.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to exit you out of here. It's no offense, but I'm going to talk to Cool Frog for a second.
I mean, y'all faggots can fuck off. I mean, shit.
But
God,
in a good way.
Why are we still streaming? In Minecraft, allegedly. I'm sorry, I didn't realize we were still streaming. Go ahead, talk to Frog. I'm out. It was good to talk to you, Shizzy. Frog, definitely. I love you. You know this.
Later, brother.
I did not mean to put the nuke on your stream. This was not intentional. My bad.
Yeah,
I'm out.
We're going on 4 hours anyway.
There you go. So now what I would do normally is just end the broadcast here. I can play the thing out, but you said you wanted to show me how to.
Yeah, I can show you a few things quick. Yeah.
Cool. So what would I need to do?
Go ahead, end the stream like you normally would, and we'll sit right here and we'll talk about that.
Cool. So
everybody, make sure that if you haven't already, like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff for Shizzy here. Don't just do it. Don't ask.
Thank you, new mods. I appreciate all that you're doing, because you guys are really, really, really cool. And there will be another one on later tonight. But thank you very much, and also thank you for Cool Frogs. So I'll leave you with my turtles.
Exotica.